Just try to remember with background noise, if you're not speaking, to keep yourself on mute until you're ready to talk. Thank you.
We are live, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I'd like to call the South Windsor Town Council special meeting of Wednesday, September 9th to order. If you would like to view the meeting, you can view on channel 16, Cox Cable, channel 6082 if you are on Frontier. To make any public comments during the meeting, you can call in at 855-925-2801. And when you get on the line, use code 8943. If you prefer to send an email during public comment time, you may do that to towncouncilcomments@southwindsor-ct.gov. All right, and if you want to view the meeting on your computer, you can go to the South Windsor website, go to select G Media, and then select Live, and you'll be able to view the meeting. All right, so I'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Reed, Clerk of the Council, roll call.
Okay. Counselor Lidecker.
Here.
Counselor Lopez.
Here.
Counselor Evans.
Here.
Counselor Falconberry.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Present.
Mayor Paterna.
Here.
Counselor Delnicki.
Here.
Counselor Manali.
Here.
Counselor Snyder.
Here.
All right, thank you. I just remind everyone that we have this is a special meeting tonight because of the fact that with the holiday, we had to move our date from the Monday because it was Labor Day. And the Planning and Zoning Commission also had a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, so they asked us to move our meeting to Wednesday because we cannot have two meetings using this technology at one time at the same night. So we are here on Wednesday for our special meeting. We'll start with our reports from the town manager. Mr. Maniscalco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things to run through here from my report. Let's start with the Wapping Community Center flagpole. I think I gave all of you a written report about that. Specifically in the budget, I know it's been kind of a hot topic recently related to the total dollar amount of that. The total cost came out to $17,165. I believe it was reported in a Journal Inquirer article that it was only going to be $2,000. That's really only the cost for the flagpoles. And if all of you remember back to the last meeting that we had in July, I also told you that there were going to be additional costs associated with electrical contractors in terms of running conduit and electrical lines out to where the flagpoles actually are. So that additional cost for the electric wiring and conduit is $7,200. We do need to do that in order to run lights on those flagpoles, and due to those flagpoles being close to the road, they cannot be, they have to be very specific style of lights and a specific angle and location. So that way we don't impact any people that are driving by. There are some additional costs in there that we put in order to kind of help with maintenance, including pavers and some shrubs in order to make it look nice. That said, if we have discussion about it later, those things obviously could, potentially go, but I would question how nice it will look moving forward. Also, I'd like to let the council know, I think as many of us have seen in the newspaper and heard, Chief Pester has announced his retirement after 31 years of working for the town of South Windsor. I would like to pass along my appreciation to him for all of his hard work and his many years of service to our community. I've been in the process of looking for his replacement, doing a lot of research and having a lot of conversations about that. Hopefully we'll have some answers for you moving forward by your next meeting. Also, I think as all of you remember in the budget process, we approved a new phone system for the town hall. That project is about halfway complete at this point. They're running a lot of cabling through the town hall. Probably the biggest challenge with doing that project is doing a lot of the cabling due to the age of the building. It's not very easy to get a lot of the wiring between the different floors. So that's been ongoing, and we're expected to get it done in about 2 months due to the time it's going to take to get the actual equipment in. Moving on, I think we all heard about early on during the pandemic, as well as during Storm Ace. We've heard a lot about FEMA reimbursements. Town staff have been spending a lot of time and energy on trying to get FEMA reimbursements and applying for FEMA reimbursements. Unfortunately, FEMA has really changed their stance from the beginning of the pandemic to now. They've really rolled back a lot of what will be eligible or is not eligible, and they've waffled quite a bit. So we're trying to fight it out with them to see it and get as many things reimbursed as we possibly can. That said, the state of Connecticut did put together a fund for reimbursement of things that FEMA does not reimburse us for. And our hope is that we could get a denial from FEMA for the things that they don't plan to reimburse us for. That way we could turn around and submit it to the state of Connecticut. This was an item we just had conversations about maybe an hour ago on our statewide call with the governor. So they are aware of it. And it's a significant issue related to the town. I think we all heard early on in the pandemic that, buy masks, buy, whatever you need to keep people safe. Now FEMA is saying, well, we're only going to reimburse you for a mask if it was used by somebody who was in contact with somebody with COVID. And even that direction has changed over time. So we are fighting that one, but we'll keep you up to date as that goes. Also, my written report about youth sports is no longer valid as of today. I think all of you saw the email that I sent out over the weekend. Originally, we were following the Department of Public Health directive on youth sports, which was very restrictive. Since then, the Department of Public Health has now endorsed the Department of Economic and Community Development guidelines. And as a result, our Parks and Rec Department and Public Health Department have both agreed and jumped on with allowing youth sports to go forward, consistent with what DECD has set forth. So that's been moving along pretty good. I also want to take an opportunity to recognize the Senior Center for doing a really amazing job with a outdoor picnic. And they did a drive-up outdoor picnic that was socially distanced. They had approximately 110, 120 people attend. And then they also did a root beer float drive-through, which I think was pretty amazing. With our seniors being one of the most vulnerable populations in our community right now related to COVID, it was nice to see them able to get out, able to have a little bit of fun in a safe manner. Also, in terms of my written report to all of you, I have issued a directive regarding public messaging on town facilities, that there will be no messages at this point. As I've discussed with a number of you, that was really because we were getting a lot of requests coming through both my office as well as a number of other offices, basically people wanting to put all kinds of messages and things on driveways and buildings throughout town. And really, it just made it a lot easier for all of us to just say it's not going to happen until we have some further direction. Also, not in the written report to all of you, I wanted to just bring your attention to Hilton Drive. The Department of Public Works replaced the head wall there on Hilton Drive. That was a 24,000-pound piece of concrete that was lifted in the air and put into a pretty big hole in order to allow to eliminate erosion that was occurring in that area and allow for cleaner runoff to end up in the Podunk River. So that was a pretty amazing project, and it was pretty good for me to be able to see it. And then lastly, from tonight's call regarding COVID, the next 2 months are really kind of being looked at very closely by the state in terms of testing and vaccines. Also with school now in session and colleges in session, they're paying very, very close attention to how those numbers play out with COVID-19. And then lastly, they're very concerned, and they're watching what the impacts of the flu season are going to be as that interplays with COVID-19 as well. So they're really looking between now and November to see how things go and the governor said he would be making decisions based on executive orders sometime in November. Locally, we are now at 215 people who've now been infected with COVID-19. We have seen a small spike in the last couple weeks as a result of a couple families that have all been impacted, and we still are at 32 people who've passed away. And that is all I have for my report, Mr. Mayor. I believe you're on mute. Sorry.
Maniscalco, any questions for the town manager? Yes. Councilor Lydecker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not so many as questions, just a couple statements of things that were mentioned in the report. One, a huge thank you to Chief Custer and best wishes to him on his retirement. 31 years is a long time to be with the town, and we greatly appreciate everything he's done for us. I also want to send a huge shout out to the Parks and Rec Department. They have been phenomenal this summer. In the report, you'll notice they talked about tennis lessons. My family enjoyed that this summer. They did an amazing job with the kids. They did an amazing job keeping everybody safe. Temperature checks. It was very well run. We enjoyed also, as mentioned in the report, the drive-in movies, which I thought was phenomenally run. You had to register. They kept everybody separate in their cars. I think our state representative, Tom Delnicki, participated in that, which really went over very, very well with the kids in town. Absolutely. The movies were great. And lastly, just a brief report on 4th R. They have stepped up and done absolutely amazing. As mentioned in the report, they are offering a full 5-day-a-week program for families. So the 3 days a week that kids are distance learning, they can do that at Wapping School. I have a couple friends who are in that 5-day-a-week program there, and they're just giving rave reviews to it, as I can give based on the 2 days that my kids have been in person at school. So a huge shout out to our Parks and Rec Department, who really stepped up during this pandemic this summer, and really went above and beyond for offerings to our citizens. And that is all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor Lydecker. Any other questions, Councilor Hockenberry?
You're still muted.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
so sorry. So sorry. I just want to, I've already spoken to Chief Custer personally and gave him my regards. And for 31 years, he's really grown into the police department and given back a lot to our town. So I want to thank him publicly. Town manager, Michael Maniscalco. I see on the flagpole report, it says pavers. Is there a way, I know that it's been done in different parts of the town. Is there a way maybe we can have names put on those pavers, even if you have to put them down now and then people maybe purchase a paver and put their name on it? So it's a community thing, or would that be too much?
Well, we certainly could talk about that moving forward in the future. I think, probably from a timing perspective, we're going to, if the project moves forward in that manner, we would probably get the pavers in now rather than wait. But yeah, it's something we certainly could talk about into the future.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the report. My children are not in the school system anymore, but I think it's great that the kids are able to play youth sports. It's a big part of their day. So good work, Parks and Rec, and good work, everybody else. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Anyone else? Councilor Delnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, regarding your call with the governor today, on what did he specifically say that if FEMA doesn't cover something, is it whatever FEMA doesn't cover, the state is going to pick up?
So, no, it's not exactly all of that. It's that the state will consider it and that we should apply for those things. So there still is another review process on the state side of the Department of Emergency Management.
Okay, so like in regards to the hazard pay, if FEMA denies that, he's suggesting that you put it through the state approval process?
Well, the state is suggesting, not the governor, but the state is
Well-
suggesting that we put it in, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and I have other questions regarding the flagpole, but I'll wait until item H. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Delnicki. Anyone else? Question for the town manager? All right, yes, Counselor Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for our town manager. Mike, do you have by any chance a status on the census for South Windsor?
I don't have a status yet. I have reached out to try to see what's going on. I have a personal connection to somebody who is working for them and know that they were starting to push people, actually some of their census takers out of town since there was a lack of cases. But I haven't heard specific information back yet, but I have an email out. So as soon as I hear something back, I'd be happy to report it to all of you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, can I take this communication part to remind the public about the census?
Yes, go
That'd
ahead,
be another
Counselor
segment.
Lopez.
Okay, thank you. So I understand that the 2020 census timeline will probably be ending earlier than usual, I believe on September 30th. Traditionally has been the end of October. And so with this in mind, I would like to remind our South Windsor residents to complete their census questionnaire. It can be done in multiple ways. One way will be by mail, but by this time, people will probably have lost their census mail and the survey. So the next best choice will be to go online and complete the survey. That will be at my2020census.gov. It's fast, it's safe, and it's confidential. And then a third option for people that may feel comfortable with it, it's if census workers are knocking on your door, please try to give them 10 minutes of your time to complete the census survey. I know during the pandemic that can be very uncomfortable, but for the ones that feel comfortable, please try to complete the survey with the census person who has been trained to do this job through a distance. The objective being to count every resident of our town. We can be missing out on population grants that fund programs like disaster recovery and road improvements, children's health insurance programs, school lunch programs, housing, Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs. In terms of dollars, as an example, the town of East Hartford may lose $3,000 a year for each person that is not counted. I was reading in the internet that the city of Houston in Texas can lose $1,000 a year per non-counted person for each person that is not counted. Now, I understand that the voluntary response in South Windsor, in our town, started at 79% versus 81% from 10 years ago. So the census workers have been going around trying to survey the remaining, but with the timeline shortening, it may not happen in time. So I did a quick non-scientific calculation, and if we undercount our town's population by 2%, it can equate to about $1 million less per year, and in a decade, it amounts to $10 million. So if we don't think federal program funding applies to us personally, it is beneficial to someone we know. So as residents of our town, let's minimize the undercount as much as possible because it is in all of our collective best interest to get an accurate count. By taking about 10 minutes to answer a short questionnaire, residents can help secure funding for local programs for the next decade. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Counselor Lopez. I think Deputy Mayor Pendleton had a hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, first I'd like to pass on my congratulations to Chief Custer and to thank him for his dedicated service. Excuse me. To our town for 31 years. I'd also like for you to pass on to Chief Custer a very much appreciated and thank you to his family for sharing him with us for 31 years. Many times our families get forgotten about, but I know there's been extra times and hours that chiefs have put in or police officers have put in away from their families. And I'd like to thank his family for that. And congratulations, Chief Custer. On the FEMA reimbursement application, Mr. Maniscalco, the state of Connecticut fund is how many dollars, please?
I want to say it's in the $40 million range.
Okay. Now, do you know if there's going to be a limit per town, or is it going to be a piecemeal
No, they have not given us any limitations by town.
Okay. And do you know if they're going to be going by need, such as a hazard pay compared to a case of masks, or are they going to do a comparison? Do you know how that's going to work?
Not that they have not given us any guidelines as to how they're going to determine what is acceptable and not. Our goal is to try to get as close to the front of the line as possible,
Okay.
hoping that helps us a little bit, but that's about it.
Okay.
This is an issue that's not just being faced by us, it's all 169 towns, to be very honest. It's been a bit of a topic over the last month that we've all talked about with some of our colleagues from other communities, because every community is submitting their, COVID-related expenses, and FEMA is saying, well, that's not, now all of a sudden that's not eligible after being told they were originally. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. And let's. I want to mention the town departments. I'm reading through the town manager's report, and COVID hasn't stopped our town. We haven't skipped a beat, and I'm so happy to see the work that each department is doing and accomplishing, and the community interaction, safely doing that with COVID pandemic going on at this time. So, thank you for the various departments that are continuing to do a fantastic job here in our town. And please pass that on to the department heads. And the other thing that I'd like to mention is the directive that you have given to us. That directive is a directive. Now, you pass that on to town staff, correct?
Correct.
And what was their response to your directive, knowing that they've received phone calls?
I did hear from one department in particular that said they were very appreciative of it because it just reinforced kind of the scenario that they were facing and gave them some very clear guidance.
Okay, and so they were very pleased with the directive.
Correct.
Okay, and I think I'll say my comments for later when we talk about agenda item, which I don't think is necessary to even be on the agenda, but the directive, I believe, and I want to give kudos to you, town manager, for doing your job and realizing and taking care of whatever the situation may be in our town facilities and our town apparatus or what have you, and coming up with a directive for the town staff. And I think you've done a really great job. And I don't want to micromanage you by any means, and I think this is fantastic, and I absolutely support your directive, of which you asked us to do. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilor Manili.
Hi, there we go. Hi, good evening. I too would like to thank Chief Custer for his service to our town. It's quite remarkable to be working in the same place. He must really have loved his job here for 31 years. I was just wondering if I know we're in this pandemic situation, but I was just wondering is the town planning any kind of celebration or commemorative? Are we gonna drive around his house, or what are we gonna do to celebrate his 31 years as he goes to retire? If you don't have an answer for me right now, that's okay. I was just wondering if something was in place, and maybe I missed an email or something. And my next thing, I just want I know the town manager has given a directive to everybody, and I know we'll be discussing this topic later on in the meeting, but I just want to say that the directives are nice. It does provide direction, which is what it's supposed to do. But more importantly, it needs to be solidified, because God forbid Mr. Town Manager decides that he's done with South Windsor and he walks away. Then whatever directive he had put in place would then be it wouldn't matter, because it's what he said, as opposed to if we had like a resolution, something that would solidify his wishes, and since we already know it's going to be approved by the town staff, so we're hoping that it gets approved by our counselors here. And that and I also have an issue with, like, sometimes if somebody wants to bring something forward I thought that was supposed to be allowed. I thought everybody was allowed to bring something forward if they thought it was necessary. And I just, I think we should just like, be cognizant of other people who feel strongly about one topic than another. So that's all I have to say. But thank you again, Mr. Custer.
All right, thank you, Councilor Neely. Before we move on, I just remind everyone that we will be honoring Chief Custer and recognizing him at our September 21st meeting, just so we're all aware of that. Okay, thank you. Any other comments before I move on? All right, we'll go on to item number 5, public input. Mr. Roberts? Any public input, or Mr. Maniscalco?
I do have some emails that were sent in. I'll try to read the dates for all of you because we've had this open since your last meeting, so covered a little bit of time. So this one is August 9th, 2020. How many of these gatherings with shootings do we have to go through before you do police who are sympathetic to BLM need to set up and stop being cowards to pull wholly less than a mile from my property? A time to start calling the mediato, yet it is amazing to me that the police of SW and other local municipalities are not these organizing so, or what BLM calls car shows, are not stopped before they are sympathetic to these gatherings and do not actively investigate them. And I have kids walking to the mall on my street, Foster Street, who walk in the middle, slow down, and actually stop as they crisscross the street. And each time there are permits to gather at that lot, why are there firearms and no police anywhere? Not sure I now can commit to back the blue when the blue is not to be found to bullets. Manchester, Connecticut, WFSB, state and local authorities are on the scene of an active in-street in the town of Manchester. State police officials say the troopers assigned to Troop H responded to it seems to be cut off. No injuries have been reported at this time. Christopher J. Bernard, LLC. He did put his phone number there, but I'm not going to read his phone number for the record. This one came August 13th, 2020. We demand that the town holds a vote on this Black Lives Matter mural that is defacing our taxpayers' property in front of our town hall, and that it be removed. Andy does not have the right to have made this decision on his own on what can deface our public property or not. Being in business myself for over 30 years, we were always developed not to discuss politics, sex, or religion, or to make it known to all our views. Why this is because we would lose business from the customers who patronize us with different opinions and doctrines. What this BLM mural represents in front of our town is a disgrace, especially to the folks who want to do business in our town. Since now, BLM is stating that the looting of businesses is warranted and is okay to do for reparations for the past. So Andy advertises our towns, the future potential businesses to build in our town, and BLM will come to loot and destroy them. Is there no competence or common sense with our so-called dictator mayor? No other organization or business was ever given permission to deface our public taxpayers' town property. Respectfully submitted, Tom Ripken, 115 Norton Lane. This is a formal request to paint White Lives Matter 2 or All Lives Matter 2 next to the BLM street painting in light of the petition sent to the South Windsor residents called All Opposed Racist, something which no one, especially the mayor, policed to address. As all my emails have been ignored, I expect this request to be granted. BLM was also granted without town resident approval. Please respond to this immediately, as I will engage in the painting of such if I from you. If I am arrested, then I will start legal proceedings against the town. Individuals who allowed the BLM to be painted without town resident approval or something, I'm sure a lawyer for basic human rights and freedom of speech will take on make it into a nicely wrapped package for social media. Christopher J. Bernard, LLC. The mayor is not being honest with residents as told to Alex Wood Journal reporter. And this is from the mayor to the reporter. He was approached by Madison Gonzalez and she threatened that if they could not paint the mural, then they would stop traffic on Sullivan Avenue. I think the town residents should know about this and I intend to make that happen. The mayor does not want people to know that he was weak and caved to being threatened. Worse after.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
I'm gonna stop you there because I think I'm being attacked here. This person has incorrect information. He's misleading people, and I really object to this type of approach. It's one thing to disagree. It's another thing to change words that people have stated in any kind of report or any kind of newspaper article. So I wish we could move on to the next one.
Okay, so just so that we're clear, the next, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 public comment are from the same individual. So I mean, I think we need to, I hate to say this, but I need to know from the council whether they want
You can read, you can read the rest of them. I'm just objecting to this one because he is not reporting accurately what the conditions and the situation was. And he's misleading people by twisting people's words around. That's all. You can read the rest of them. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, this one is on, let me see, August 15th. Also, just as an FYI, a petition signed by 2,700 of the population of 25,788 and 2,201 majority. And when asked regarding the petition about the everyone opposed is Madison Gonzalez replied to Alex Wood Journal reporter. This is in his published. She stated that if you were neutral, it was okay. If you were opposed, for any reason, I am for reason of bullying, violence, injuring, killing, defacing among a, not sure what that word is, activities. If you were opposed, then you were indeed a racist. So if I was a veteran of the military and fought for my country and believed in stands for not burning it as BLM does and risked my life for what many others and someone told me I was a racist because I did not believe the same as them. They called me a racist, especially from a privileged 21-year-old who lives in a affluent community, does not even know the true beginnings of slavery, which started in 3,500 BC. Then, if I was a veteran, I would be wondering why I would ever risk my life for this country when our own town does not stand up for what I'm not sure, it looks like it's cut off, and make sure groups like BLM protest in a legal and safe manner.
Excuse me, town manager?
Yes.
Does a 5-minute limit apply to an individual, even if they are multiple submissions, may I ask?
My personal opinion is somebody gets 1 or 2 applications for public comment during a normal meeting. So, I mean, we would usually take 2. In the past, we've tried to read them all. I mean, I'm not really sure what you guys want to do.
Councilor Snyder.
Yeah, real quick. If this is public input, if people have the right for their opinions, and many times, Mr. Mayor and other councilors, what people say is a lot of times incorrect, and we all know that. So the public doesn't have all the information we have. But I mean, I just think we should just read all the public input. And of course, if there's any profanities or anything, Mr. Maniscalco, I know you won't reread those.
Yeah, I'll
But,
keep them,
it's
the
public
naughty
input.
words.
Yeah, it's public input and people have the right to be heard and they sent these things in and I think we just need to, there's only seven or eight letters left. I think we should.
I've got, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, so I think we should just go through and I just don't think it's right to cut off public comment because we may not believe or agree with what somebody's saying. Let's just get through it and consider people giving their opinions and listen to them and see what they have to say. Thank you.
Councilor Snyder, if we had a public in-person meeting, a person would not be allowed to get up 5 different times to speak. Councilor Delnicki.
Right.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's all.
I was just, if Mr. Maniscalco can each time on the email, just provide the date when it came in, because they could be different dates. Just the way we have an idea of how many times this individual wrote in. If he wrote in the same day 5 times or 5 different days, because that would be 5 different meetings or two meetings, depending on how many times he got up.
Yeah, so far out of the comments that I've read, you have August 9th, 2 of them from August 13th, and now 2 of them from August 15th. 3 of them from August 15th.
Yeah, and we didn't meet in August. That's making it tougher now, because now we're in this new format right now.
Yeah.
It would have been different in in-person meetings, and like we didn't meet in August, so.
All right, thank you, Councilor Delnicki. Councilor Evans.
Point of clarification is that I am not asking the question that I asked based on the fact that I disagree or don't disagree with what the person is saying. It's a matter of how much time a person should have and how many times they can speak. If they sent in 20 emails, are we really going to sit here and read 20 emails? So I think we need to be fair to what we typically would do and still follow that, regardless of the virtual versus in-person.
All right, thank you, Councilor Evans. Anyone else? Opinion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Deputy Mayor Pendleton, where are you?
I'm right here. I'm here.
We can't see you.
Oh, I'm here.
We
Sorry.
lost you. Okay, we lost you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'll try to get back on. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. Okay. My comments concerning public input, there is a statement that the mayor reads prior to public input concerning disparaging comments from the public. And Mr. Mayor, I was wondering if you have that statement, please, so that Mr. Maniscalco, if he's reading an email that or a message on public input, if it falls under that our statement, then maybe he can choose not to read that. Some of the comments have been not nice. The other thing is most people get 2 spots to comment at a public input. So I would agree that 2 would be appropriate instead of 8 by 1 person. Their comments are 2 per person. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do not have that statement, but we'll make sure we have it for the next meeting.
I believe the council clerk.
Our clerk of the council, Debbie,
Ms.
has our statement.
I
Ms.
do
Reed?
have it.
Okay,
It says the speaker shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. This limit may not be exceeded except when invoked by the members of the council with the consent of the majority of the council present. Town council members will not respond to any public comments. And then when recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lector, give their name and address, and avoid personalities or impugning of improper motive of any person.
all right. Thank you, Ms. Reed. Clerk of the council. All right, any other comments? I think sounds like we'll continue, but I think we'll put a stopwatch on and see if these emails extend the 5-minute time limit. How's that?
They seem to get shorter, so.
Okay, that's good. Okay,
All right, this one is from August 15th. Senate Bill 176 passed. This law enables officials to prohibit protests of more than 20 people, certain circumstances, and it expands the crime of trespass. Enables the Department of Transportation to prohibit trespassers from stopping on highways and criminalizing protests on the highway. Christopher J. Bernard. This one is from August 16th. This is why I am unsympathetic and why BLM is not peaceful nor reasonable. Do not for a minute think this cannot happen here in Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport. Just sit back and think about this and remember that BLM threatened the mayor with traffic stoppage. What do you think? What do they do next when they do not get what they want? Christopher J. Bernard. This is what happens when you get threatened and give in to violence of BLM. You should be setting parameters where they have to obey laws, not breaking law. Going to see the enforcement part of this is the day they come to your house, mister, and tell you they want your house. Do not for a minute think it cannot happen in Bridgeport. Christopher J. Bernard. And that one's from August 16th. This one's from August 18th. Why were the residents of South Windsor never notified, nor was the police of South Windsor notified that the leader of the BLM movement of South Windsor, Madison Gonzalez, something Sullivan Avenue, if the mayor did not permit them to paint the mural that was, it's not included, town council without the residents of South Windsor being asked to approve it immediately before engaging legal counsel against the town of South Windsor. Christopher J. Bernard. Man gets pulled from his truck, and this one's from August 18th as well. Man gets pulled from his truck and almost beaten to death by who? South Windsor. 2 instances of BLM protesters in front of apartment with white residents chanting, our esteemed mayor thinks that this is okay to do. Let's get rid of this mayor, vote him out. He is a disgrace. Christopher J. Bernard. This one is from September 8th.
Excuse me. You should not be reading any of the emails that are pointing at any of the counselors, the mayor, or any of our staff. That is what that statement that Debbie Reed had read. That is.
Are you calling a point, MJ, are you calling a point of order? You should do that.
I did. I said.
No, you say point.
Yeah, I did. I'll do it again. Point of order. No one should be calling out any counselor, the mayor, the staff. No one should. This person seems to be on a rampage for the last month. And I just don't think it's appropriate for him to be attacking any of us or staff or town people. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Mr. Maniscalco?
All right, last one here is from September 8th. I would like a flag on the flagpoles stating Landscaper Lives Matter, to fly the flag of landscapers everywhere, or do I have to stop traffic on Sullivan Avenue? Christopher J. Bernard. This is from August 16th. Now that our taxpayers' town hall property is back to normal, not promoting a business, just maybe new business will build here and they, customers or clients, questions we have. 1, did our mayor pay for the resurfacing of our taxpayer town driveway? 2, did any taxpayer money reimburse our mayor for the paint he bought? 3, why wasn't Andy arrested for defacing town property? 4, anyway, we can recall him from being our mayor.
Point of order. Do not read that.
Hockenberry.
That's uncalled for. I understand what happened. We all do. But this email is borderline, I don't know the word, a borderline abuse. If a person continuously talks about the mayor, it could be talking about me. You know, anybody, any of us who are doing town work, staff, what have you, this is uncalled for. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Counselor Hockenberry.
I appreciate the concern by everybody. It's not my job to censor public comment. So, you know, in the past, I've said that we shouldn't be reading these. We should be scanning them and emailing them for everybody else to read. And we could post them online for the public to review if interested. This is from somebody totally different. So,
I agree, but
you know, I'm
if
not in
that
a
person
position
was, if that person was standing in our town hall chambers doing this, he would be shut down because that's inappropriate.
Okay. That was from Thomas J. Ripken, 115 Norton Lane. In excess, this is from September 1st. An excess of litter has been found in the part of Brookfield Street. Assuming this is a low-cost manageable option, I would like to suggest that trash cans be placed in the park. In addition to making trash receptacles available, I would also like to propose a maintainer. Adding such a path around the perimeter would add a little over something not finished. Sure, our excellent parks and recreation staff and town manager can determine. I don't have the rest of that part of this message. Thank you for your time and consideration to these proposals. Peter Maroto, 223 Brookfield Street, South Windsor, Connecticut, and I will follow up with them. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Counselor Leidecker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I just may ask a quick question. Besides some of the comments being concerning from Mr. Bernard, when somebody perseverates over an issue over the entirety of a month and some of their comments come in basically threatening, in a sense, to disrupt town business, Mr. Manager, do you ever send an officer out to speak with somebody when they're perseverating over an issue like that and they're expressing clear hostilities towards a member of the council?
We have in the past, yes.
And I guess I would just request, given some of what was read this evening, this may be one that should be brought to the attention of our police department. So I would request that maybe these emails be discussed with our chief or our interim chief.
I would just,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would just respectfully decline to actually get into the specifics about that scenario, and just so everybody is aware that we are addressing all issues that do come forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Maniscalco, and thank you, Counselor Leidecker. All right, we'll move on to the next item, adoption of the minutes. And we start with the meeting of July 20th, Counselor Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
I think
Does
it's
that say Manili?
Councilor Manili first.
It says
Oh.
Manili.
Counselor Manili, previous meetings, I'm sorry, my apology.
Okay, no problem.
Counselor Manili.
Okay, thank you. Adoption of minutes for previous meetings. Be it resolved, South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the following town council meeting, virtual meeting of July 20, 2020.
Second,
All right,
Thank you.
motion's been made and seconded. Thank you, Counselor Snyder. Any changes, additions? Counselor Evans.
Thank you. On the executive session portion where it lists the individuals who went into executive session, my name is not included. So I'd like to ask to be included in that.
Okay, thank you. We'll make that correction. Thank you, Counselor Evans. Any other changes, additions, deletions? All right, if not, we'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye.
aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, I do have to abstain. This is Counselor Leidecker.
Yes, Counselor Leidecker. And you were not at the meeting.
Correct, so I'm
Right.
abstaining.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Reed?
Counselor Lopez.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Counselor Hockenberry.
Yes.
Counselor Snyder.
Yes,
Counselor Leidecker. Abstain.
Abstain.
Counselor Manili.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Yes.
Counselor Delnicki.
Yes.
Counselor Evans.
Yes.
Mayor Paterna.
Yes. All right, the minutes have been approved. Now we'll go on to Councilor Lopez for the next meeting. Sorry, Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 6, adoption of minutes of previous meetings. Be it resolved that South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the following Town Council meeting. Virtual special meeting minutes of July 27, 2020, and July 30, 2020, and virtual public hearing minutes of July 27, 2020.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Councilor Snyder, thank you. Any changes, additions, corrections, deletions to these minutes? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, thank you. Item 7, communications. Do we have any communications for the council? Councilor Lydecker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to my liaison as the Board of Ed, I just wanted to, I'm sure everybody's aware, state that school went back in session yesterday. They have done a cohort hybrid approach. So there is one cohort that is full online distance learning at home. There is one cohort of A through K, which is cohort A. They go in person on Monday, Tuesday. And there is another cohort, cohort B, which goes in person Thursday, Friday, and all children are home on Wednesdays. I just want to state to our Board of Ed, to the administration, Dr. Carter, all the teachers, the staff, they've just done an amazing job with a very impossible task. I literally sobbed when I dropped my kid. I'm going to cry again. I sobbed when I dropped my kids off in person yesterday. I was so worried about the safety of them and putting them in masks and sending them into this school building. And my children came home happy, smiling, begging to go back 5 days a week. They were thrilled to be there. The teachers went above and beyond doing, it sounds as if the teachers are not only teaching the in-person students, but at the exact same time, they have the other almost 2/3 of the class on a computer, and they're teaching them at the exact same time. And to see what the teachers and the staff have done to keep our children safe, to keep our children happy, a huge, immense of gratitude and appreciation for them. And I'm sure it's not just my children who came home ecstatic to be back. And I just commend every single person who spent their summers putting this program together to get our kids back in school safely. And it's been tremendous. So a huge thank you to the Board of Ed, to the teachers, the principals, the staff, the administration, everybody who had a hand in this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Wow, thank you, Councilor Lydecker. Great comments. Yes, Councilor Hockenberry.
That's great, Karen. Good news. I'm giving a report on the Human Relations Commission. On Monday, September 21st, from 7 to 8:30, there's going to be a virtual event. They are considering doing yoga. They're finding a venue and a person to do it right now, but it is going to happen on from 7 to 8:30 on the official International Day of Peace on September 21st on Monday. Thank you. I hope anyone can join. You'll look for more information. It is on Facebook, the South Windsor Human Relations Commission, and it will be brought out publicly to more, I think there's on the town site and so on. So there'll be more information. But this is the 3rd annual International Day of Peace, and it's always been a success, and it's always been a great event. And considering what all of us have been going through this pandemic and a lot of other things, this would be a really good time for our town and our community to take a respite and just breathe a little. So I just wanted to give that information.
Okay, and I thank you for that, Councilor Hockenberry, but I just want to remind you, please give our regards to the Human Relations Commission, because that's also the night of our meeting, which begins at 7.
I know, I'll be there.
Okay, all right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, good. I'm going to make sure I wasn't on mute. As the liaison to Wood Library and Museum, I received today updates about what's going on down at Wood. Although we are not open to the public yet, we will have staff in the office Mondays through Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. beginning on Monday, September 14th, to answer phone calls and emails. We have our 23rd annual golf tournament, September 17th at Topstone. There is a Harvest Moon dinner, a series of macabre events this year. Will be Saturday, October 24th. This is going to be virtual and will feature an online presentation by our archivist, Leith Johnson, and we are teaming up with local restaurant to be announced to create a special pick-up dinner. The 175th anniversary of South Windsor exhibit, Evolution of Agricultural, is up on the website, and we're working on the final anniversary exhibit, From the Podunk Path to Space. The exhibit will explore different modes of transportation, their history and impact on the development of the South Windsor area. In conjunction with our online exhibit, From the Podunk Path into Space, we'll be creating a Main Street mini marathon on the weekend of October 10th and 11th. People will be able to explore Old Main Street at their leisure and bring our digital exhibit into the real world. Info and updates about all this will be available on Wood Memorial Library website, and that is woodmemorial.library.org, and on their Facebook page. So thank you, Wood, for all those updates.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor Pendleton. Any other communications?
Mayor?
Councilor
Paterno?
Hockenberry.
I'm not, this isn't a communications, but it's a communications to Mr. Scott Roberts. My phone went off and I got a text saying the audio of the town council meeting went out. We can see everyone moving, but no audio. Just for your information, that's how it's coming across to the community.
Do we know, are they on Cox or are they watching it over the internet? Are they using Frontier services? Do we know how they're watching?
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Councilor Manili?
I have it on Cox and it's working. Cox Channel 16 is working on a TV audio and visuals. Just let you know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go on to, while we're checking that, we'll go on to new business.
It's live streaming. I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm so sorry. It's live streaming through the website.
Okay, we're looking into it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, on to special new business. Our first discussion on related to the August 11th, 2020 primary. Councilor Snyder, and do we know if the registrars are with us? Mr. Roberts?
They're with you. They'll be right in.
Okay. Councilor Snyder, you can start as soon as they get on board here, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Suze.
Hi, Sue.
The Sioux squared.
Sue squared, right. Okay. Hi, Sue.
Hello?
Hello, hi, Sue.
Can you hear both of us now or just Sue Burnham?
We can hear both.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I had asked for this item for discussion. This was just a very strange, we're in such a strange world right now. I wanted some feedback from both of you on how the primary went. What were your challenges? I think we know that, but I want to hear them from you. And how was your success? What happened? How did it go? Because this is something very new for everybody, but especially for our registrar. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to let us know how you think things went. So thank you. I'll be listening.
I can start. definitely we had challenges with, COVID, and we didn't know what to expect as far as increase in absentee ballots. We had the challenges where we had to change 2 of the polling places. So we had actually 3 polling places at the high school, and then the high school is also split between the 2 primaries. So it was an interesting election. Personally, on the Republican side, we didn't have as many absentee ballots as on the Democratic side. I don't know if you want numbers. You want to jump in, Sue, for a bit?
Well, I mean, just to add on with what Sue was saying is, we had changes to how we were doing things right up until the day before the primary happened. So we were in a constant change mode right from the start. It was a day by day kind of situation where we were changing our planning all the time to meet what the Secretary of the State and the governor was expecting of us. But overall, I was really proud of the people that came to work for the polls. They called us up and said, under COVID, we know that a lot of your older poll workers can't work, so we're saying, stepping up to the plate and we'll work the primary. So I'm grateful for that. And the outpouring for the presidential has been fantastic as far as people calling us and saying we're willing to work. So I'm pleased with that. But as far as the actual primary, on the Democratic side, we had 80% use absentee ballots and about 20% was in person, which really, we had 2,509, I think was the number of people voting in the primary, which is about 35%. Which I thought was pretty good given the circumstances. And again, everything was pretty much, hurry up and make a change, hurry up and make a change as we went along. We did pay our poll workers a little more than normal because they were putting themselves in harm's way. Unlike other circumstances where the town can say if you don't wear a mask, you can't come in. Well, unfortunately, election law isn't like that. So if somebody came in and said, I refuse to wear a mask and you can't ask me why, they came in and they voted. It makes it very difficult for us. But again, the poll workers, the moderators that we had were outstanding. And I want to say kudos to the Public Works and to the custodians at the schools. They did an outstanding job of working with us because everything was very different from normal. Because the schools weren't in session, so everything was done in the afternoons, which made it a little difficult to get some of our poll workers out there to help out because they only took Tuesday off. They didn't take Monday off too. So that put a strain on us. But, thank you to Public Works and to the custodians. They were outstanding. I couldn't ask for better people to work with. So I just want to make that known
I'd
too.
like to also thank Public Works for everything they did. Our workers were excellent, the poll workers. Thank you for coming out and working. We did everything we could to make sure that they were safe with masks and face shields and, just cleaning and sanitizing all the time. I mean, we were just not just every once in a while. It was constantly being cleaned. I had about a 23% turnout overall. For the primary, I had 401 people that came out and voted absentee ballots. So my numbers were a little lower. And, it is what it is. We don't know what's going to be around the corner. for, the presidential. I would like to mention that the people where they vote, they will be back, as far as I know, voting in their normal voting places. We had to make the changes because of different reasons. We sent out letters via first class mail to all the affected voters, so they would be well aware as to where they were voting. And also, I don't know if I said this, but the poll workers, it was very hot that day, and the schools do not have air conditioning. So some of the poll workers were really subjected to tremendous heat in the school. And thank you for enduring.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I'd have to add in is the cost of the primary. It was probably in the area of $28,000, which is definitely about $6,000 more than a normal election. And that part of it is the plexiglass shields that we had gotten for the poll workers in the polling places and for absentee balloting, and the increase in the poll workers that we had, and the PPE that we bought. But some of that's being offset by I think we received $3,600 from the state to cover some of the additional costs that we had.
Well, thank you, both Sue Burnham from the Republican side and Sue Larson from the Democrat side. I personally, this was a huge thing, and I want to thank you both because I know it was an daunting task to be able to get volunteers, pull it all together, handle the absentee ballot, not even to mention bringing PRS and Eli Terry to the high school. So, and I also want to thank all those brave poll workers that went out there and worked during this time. It's a long day from like 5 in the morning until after 8 in the evening. And it's brutal on a good time, during a good time for, and it was just very, very challenging circumstances for everybody. And I just want to thank you, both of you, for doing a great job. And I want to really thank the poll workers who were there and did it to get it done. And looking forward, I know Sue Burnham just mentioned, but Philip R. Smith is up and running and open for business. So those who vote there will return back to the Philip R. Smith location. And an Eli Terry is our second new school that's all set and done and opened up and is running well. So those Eli Terry voters will be back there. So it's nice to see, and, thanks to the people of our town, of course, who so, valiantly supported the education system. So everybody will be back to normal, to their own voting districts, and looking forward to November. It's a big election for all of us, and Sue's, keep up the great work. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, because it gives us an opportunity to, talk about what we do and how much we appreciate others.
I have a question.
Thank you. Councilor Delnicki?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Sue Burnham. You said there were 401 absentee ballots. What was the total percentage that voted in person, and what was the total in person? Because Sue Larson gave 2,509 for her total. Just wondering what the Republican side was. That
822.
That showed up physically?
There's a considerable difference. That was the total that voted. So I had about 23% of a turnout. So in person was 421 and absentee was 401.
Oh, okay. So only 421 showed. Okay. So you had a total of 822. Perfect.
Yes, Audrey.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Councilor Delnicki. Councilor Hockenberry.
I really thank the both of you for, this must have been quite a challenge. Did all the polling people who worked, did you all go through protocol for masks and the PPEs and everything? So when someone did come in person, they were also protected?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. sure I'm understanding fully your question. Are you saying that you're talking about the poll workers or the voters?
Well, the poll workers, and did you have anyone, so it's two questions. Did the poll workers all wear masks? And two, those who came in without a mask, how was that handled?
Well, as you,
Basically,
go ahead.
okay, I was just going to say every poll worker was, every polling location had what we called a PPE kit, which had hand sanitizer, face mask, gloves, face shields. So every single one of our poll workers had all of that equipment. We were handed out face masks to anybody that came in to the without a face mask. If they took it, or not. I mean, it was there for them to take. We had hand sanitizer at every entrance and every exit. As far as with the privacy booths, we handed out what we call placemats to put onto the privacy booth so that when they go to fill out their ballot, it would be absolutely clean for that particular person. So we try to keep the polling locations as clean as possible. They had the wipes to go, clean every so often to do a quick scrub on the privacy booths. The laptops, they had, the those microcloths that you use to wipe things down. So every polling location had all the equipment they needed in order to keep it clean and safe.
Thank you. How was it for you, Sue Burnham?
Well, we worked, that's the same thing. I did the same thing. Every voter was handed a pen, so that what happened is when they filled out their ballot, they had their own pen. And we did the same thing. We sanitized constantly. I mean, it was the type of thing. So when a voter left, the I voted stickers were left there for them to take or not take. They were not touched or handled by anybody. They were left on a table by the door.
Okay. So do you both feel that this process we did for the primary is going to be okay in November?
I absolutely do. I think this primary was a good thing. It was a learning curve, and just we did. I think Sue and I both did a great job, if I do say so myself. And with the primary, we learned how to do things and how to do things properly.
Well, that's really great news. And my last question is, since you did say there was only 3 polling stations, so will everyone get those postcards like we did last year that states where your polling station is?
No, I don't think so.
That's a good question. I also agree. I don't think so. I don't think there's a need unless the council does, and they want to give us a directive to spend the money to send those out.
Well, all the schools will be open then, so that it was just a question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe because I just know that you do make a statement in the newspaper anyways, but I wasn't sure how that was going to work.
Okay, and it's also
Yeah.
on the website, so we try to get the communication out as many times and as much as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your help.
Okay. I'll just make one comment. I think the only one that we might possibly consider, and that'll be Sue and I talking about it later, would be District 4, which is Pleasant Valley School, because they've been at the community center for a couple of years. Maybe we'd want to send them the notice that they're back at the high school.
Okay, I really appreciate your help. I'm not sure how that's going to happen. Like you said, I don't know if that's a directive from the council, maybe something to consider. Is a very important when you have the presidential campaign, election, a lot more people come out to vote. So it's just going to be an awful lot of work. Just want to make sure that every vote counts. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Councilor Neely.
Thank you. My voting section is the high school, and I just want to let you know that it was very well orchestrated. I don't know how many hoops you had to jump through beforehand, but other than the fact that when I had to leave, I ended up on the back end of the school and my car was in the front end of the school. So I felt a little bad for some of the older people who ended up in the back. But but there was the Republicans went in one door, the Democrats went in the other door, and if you were the Eli Terry, or you were the Philip R. Smith, or you were the high school, it was very well done. As soon as you walked in, they gave you hand sanitizer if you chose to take it. And then when you got up to where you show your driver's license, I mean, they don't even touch your driver's license. You just held it up and they marked your name off, and then they sent you to the next station. It was like station, station, station all the way around. And then they gave you a table placemat with a covering and your own pen, and you're supposed to take that with you. It was really well done. Let me just say, but both Susans, you did a great job, and it was very, very smooth. And they even, I mean, there were signs to tell you how to get out, because you were, you went to the back gym, and then you went to the locker room, and then you came out the back door. You ended by the football field, but it was still very well marked, and so there was no problem there. So it was well done, very nicely done. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All right.
Lisa.
Thank you, Council Hockenberry. Council Lydecker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did hear you mention that PPE was given to the poll workers. However, I didn't hear you state if it was used, because I did receive a couple complaints that some poll workers at a location were not, in fact, wearing masks. So I'm curious what the requirement is. If they're getting paid, do they have to wear their mask? And if they're refusing to wear their mask, what happens? And are they going to be required to wear their masks in November?
Yes, they are going to be required to wear their masks in November.
So how come that wasn't required in August?
It was required.
But some workers were not wearing them. So how is that going to be monitored in the November election?
We are going to work very closely with the moderators at the polling districts to make sure that that never happens again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
There were other Republicans
Thank you,
that
Council
weren't wearing
Lydecker.
masks.
Did I see Councilor Delnicky's hand? Question? No? Okay. Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Suze, for all the work that you guys did. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And it's very pleasing to hear that DPW and the custodians were so helpful with the circumstances that we were in at this time. I'd like to ask a question here for Sue Larson, the in-person and the absentee numbers, please.
All right, in person, we had 1,950. And I mean, that's the absentee ballot number. And then we had something like 560 some odd for in person.
Okay, thank you. And I noticed on the absentee ballot application, the form that they fill out for the application is a little askew. There was no place to put a mailing address. Is that going to be changed, do you know?
The absentee ballots are going to start looking more like the old one. This past, with the primary, they used a mail house out of Rhode Island, and a lot of things weren't done the way it should have been done.
Right.
So it looks very much like what you're used to for absentee ballots.
Okay, so that's good. It's going to be corrected though for the absentee.
Correct. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, that's what I used to do. So that's why I'm asking. So the third party is not going to be involved in the November. It's going to go back to the clerk.
Yeah, what happens is the absentee ballot applications are being mailed from a mail house in Connecticut, but the actual ballot will be mailed by the town clerk.
Okay. So
and that'll be sometime after. I was just going to say that's going to be sometime after October 2nd.
Okay, and the town clerk was involved in the primary with mailing out the absentee ballots?
Not as much. The mail house did both the application and the ballot. which is why everything was a little bit messed up, I would say. It's a nice way to put it.
Okay, yeah, I kind of figured and noticed that, but I would like to thank the town clerk's office too for their participation within the election process. And thank you ladies too, again, for everything that you did and in the difficult situation we had. And it was a very smooth operation, as Councilor Manili had mentioned. So thank you very much for all your work.
So does that mean you're going to recommend we get a raise?
Aren't you cute, Susie?
Andy, you're muted.
Before we move on, any other comments that people have for Sue Burnham or Sue Larson? All right. Thank you both for coming tonight. Appreciate all your hard work. Look forward to you gearing up for the November election. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. We'll go on to item B, discussion of sewer fees. Councilor Delnicki, and is Mr. Manfree with us tonight?
He is, Mr. Mayor. I will bring him in.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Manfree, are you with us?
Hello. He's slowly coming online.
All right.
There he is.
You with us?
I'm here. How are you?
Thank you. All right. We're going to have Councilor Delnicki start, introduce this topic, and then we'll go on to a discussion if you don't mind. Thank you.
Very good.
Councilor Delnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tony, for coming in on this, once again, favorite topic of everyone, sewer fees. I think there is some miscommunication. I thought I saw some things on Facebook that people think that the fees went up this year from last year, not by a lot, but I think it was a few dollars. But if you could explain the sewer fees versus going to a metered system, just so people will understand that the fees are probably less it's more cost effective with a sewer fee than if you metered in, you'd be paying for them, somebody to maintain the meters and going through all the calculations for the meters. So if you could explain all that, and hopefully people will understand it.
Sure. So sewer fees are $415. We maintained that level from last year, so they did not go up this year. The only change in the budget was the WPCA approved lowering the assumed consumption rate of the residential user from 84,000 gallons to 79,000 gallons. Actually, I should probably back up a little bit. The water pollution control facility, we operate through a special revenue fund budget, which is approved by the Water Pollution Control Authority. The budget includes the operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant, the 11 pump stations, 130 miles of sewer pipe. We also pay for our capital improvement projects, debt service, and our capital reserve fund through the special revenue fund that we have. And also the budget is funded through the sewer user fees. So the benefits of a flat fee are we have predictable revenues to cover our operating costs. And this is a way that we can create accurate budgets for our capital improvements and any other operating expenses that we have. Another benefit is how efficient it is. I think it's worth mentioning that our current staff level is equal to 1.05 full-time employees. 80% of my salary and 25% of my administrative staff salary come out of the operating budget from the WPCA. The balance of our salaries is through the refuse and recycling budget, which is funded through the general fund. So it's a very manageable structure that we can administer with the equivalent of essentially one employee. We do have a lot of assistance through the collective revenue, which is very much appreciated. Jennifer does a great job. So I do want to thank her for that. And I think she's, worth mentioning, her assistance through the process. But yeah, if we did move to something like a consumption-based system, if you look at other communities that do that, they have a much larger staff. You're going to need to add a minimum of 1 employee for sure, probably more than that, maybe 2. And typically those costs with salary and benefits is, $100,000 or more. So again, it's a very efficient budget to manage. So the WPCA, it kind of alluded to this. We've reviewed the rate structure several times over the last 10 years or so. Special meeting was held in August of 2019. A variety of options were considered, some of which were the billing off water consumption. The Water Pollution Control Authority also looked at billing apartment units individually versus as one building. They've also considered billing municipal buildings, schools, fire departments. And then the other thing they looked at was lowering the assumed residential consumption rate from 84,000 gallons to 79,000 gallons. And what ultimately came out of those meetings was the WPCA determined that reducing the assumed consumption amount to 79,000 gallons was the best and most efficient course of action. But the ramifications on that is that we're shifting from a known revenue or a fixed revenue to more of a variable budget, because the commercial side is based off of water consumption. But if you go into, if we enter a pandemic, for example, and business is closed, I'm essentially 30% of my budget is up in the air. If they don't reopen, that's lost revenue, and we have to make up for that because we do have fixed operating costs that are required. So we do become a little more, becomes more reliant on the community and the economy, I should say, and it's a more variable budget as opposed to a more fixed budget. So I think it's also worth mentioning that we do offer residents a qualified income discount program, and that's kind of in cahoots with the state qualified income program. And this year we currently have 192 participants, and so people are using it. And I think it's a good program to offer people that may be struggling to pay the sewer fee. So I don't know, does that answer your questions or concerns, I hope?
Yeah, is there any, is it listed or is it put up anywhere on that you have this program? Because I never heard that there was a program, because some people are saying, because they're on a fixed income, that the sewer fees are high for that.
Right, so that's through the social services.
Okay.
If people are applying with the social services, they'll mention that there is a sewer program in place, so they'll be aware of it.
So it's almost like they'll mention like a renter's rebate and things like that, but through them.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Councilor Delnicki. Any other questions for Mr. Manfree? Councilor Hockenberry.
Hi, Mr. Manfree. Nice to have you this evening. Sorry to take you out of your family home there. Thank you for all your hard work. I know that we've talked about this a number of times. Just to mention again, as you did, the WPCA is the one who actually gauges the rates. Can you tell me again, what is the percentage of that you rely on? Is it the 30% that you said?
Yeah, it's about 30% is a variable portion. That's our commercial industrial properties.
Okay,
and they make up about $1.5 million of our budget, of our revenue.
Okay. When you have meetings, are they videotaped?
They have been, yes. In the past, though, before the pandemic, they're typically been recorded.
Okay.
And then they're posted on the website.
So besides the video of your meeting and information that way, where else is that information posted? Do we have it on our town page?
Yeah, the audio is uploaded to the town page, and the minutes are also posted on the website, and they're also posted with the town clerk's office.
Okay, so this is information that we have had and we can keep getting. So that's great. Thank you for your information. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Mr. Manfrey, a question for you. A number of years ago, there is a program in the state for, based on age, for residents to receive a tax credit through the state of Connecticut. And this council 2 years ago expanded that by increasing the income limits and changing some of the requirements. So it expanded the program essentially. Would the WPCA consider looking at those credits that you already give to seniors, but maybe expanding that and increasing that to encompass more people, if that's possible? That's number one. And number two is, can you let folks know when your next meeting is? Because I think essentially what Councilor Hockenberry is getting at is, you know, the town council is not going to vote on the sewer fees. But if people have a concern, they should attend the meeting online and voice their concern directly to WPCA. So when is your next meeting?
So we meet the first Tuesday of each month. We do have exceptions. For example, in November, we meet on the first Wednesday due to the election. And we don't have July and August meetings scheduled. Those would typically be reserved for special meetings.
Right.
So our next meeting will be the first Tuesday in October. So yeah, we do encourage people to come out and voice any concerns that they may have. There is a option for a public comment on the agenda. And yes, we did consider, or at least have some discussions on expanding the program a little bit. As of right now, the cost of the program is $19,000 roughly, meaning that the other users are subsidizing the 192 participants that are in the program. But yeah, so that was considered, but it wasn't implemented at this point.
All right, but as long as you're looking at it, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Tony. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm really happy to hear that we're down to the 79,000 consumption rate. That was the number of 11 years ago that we walked into the WPCA with. To stick with that number, the 79,000, and work over the years at that rate, I'm really, really happy to hear that we're at that instead of the 80. That's good news. Two questions, I think, three questions actually. You say there's public input. There is a way to send in emails and or to call in. How does that work?
Yeah, we post that on the agendas, which can be viewed online or in the town clerk's office. There is an email address similar to town council meetings, and there is also a call-in ability as well.
Great, thank you. And that's one question. Number two is, you were explaining the full-time and out of the revenue that comes in for the billing, how much of, and I heard you say 30%, but I'm not sure if that's the right answer. How much of your budget is covered by the revenue of the fees?
100%.
No, because some of it is picked up by the town budget with the refuge, you said.
That's right. That's a separate. Can you restate the question? I just want to be clear. Sorry.
I wrote down you have 1.05 full-time. Your pay is out of the WPCA funds, and then I wrote 25%, and then I wrote the balance comes out of the refuge, out of the general budget. So help me.
80% of my salary and 25% of other salary comes out of the WPCA or the operating budget, and 20% and 75% of our salaries come out of the refuse and recycling budget.
Got it. Thank you. I wasn't sure the breakdown, but thank you. I appreciate.
Yeah, that's how we split our time.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. And then I guess my third question would be, I'm just so happy you went to the 79. When Councilor Delnicki started her question, she had asked you to explain the difference between fee and metered and what that difference is and why fee is better than metered. And I'm not sure I quite got an answer.
So it's what it comes down to the efficiency. Again, with other communities, they may have 3 or 4 staff members in the office that are doing consumption based. And when I speak about consumption based, they'll use the water meters, and whatever water usage the house or the account uses, that's assumed that that's going into the sewer. So a lot of places, I mean, everybody's set up a little bit different. Some will deduct swimming pools, others won't, which is obviously a point of contention. If irrigation lines for lawns, some people may deduct, some communities may deduct them, others may not. So that's how that's set up. I mean, there's challenges with each and every system that there is. You know, if you know, I understand the argument, but you know, if you don't have kids in the school, you're still paying to put your taxes are still going towards the schools.
Right.
So it's for the greater good of the community.
Right, I understand. And the folks that have septic, and I'm not sure that's any left here in town that may have septic, they don't get a bill, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And the ones, okay, there you go, Audrey. And the ones that have wells don't get a water bill.
That's correct.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry, because I have both, so that's why I.
Okay, so I just wanted to get that out there. All right, thank you very much. I think that answers all my questions, and I'm just happy. And thank you. Good job.
All right.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Manfrey, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
All
Thank
right,
you,
you're welcome.
Tony.
Really
Greatly appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right, have a good night. Thank you.
All right, we're on item number 8 under new business. Councilor Delnicki, resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution authorizing town manager Michael Maniscalco to execute and deliver any and all documents deemed to be necessary or appropriate to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security on behalf of the town of South Windsor. Be it resolved that the town of South Windsor may enter into, with, and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security any and all documents which deems necessary or appropriate for the memorandum of agreement regarding use of federal fiscal year 2020 state homeland security grant funding and custodial ownership of regional assets in Demis Region 3, and be it further resolved that Michael Maniscalco, Town Manager, Town of South Windsor, is hereby authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town of South Windsor and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of the memorandum of agreement regarding use of federal fiscal year 2020 state homeland security grant funding and custodial ownership of regional assets in Demis Region 3, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents.
Second.
Been made and seconded. Let's start with comments. Councilor Delnicki, any comments?
I believe, Mr. Maniscalco, that this is our annual resolution.
You are 100% correct.
Oh, you mean we've done this before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how many years now?
Okay.
That's
All
my
right,
only question.
All right. Any comments or questions? Councilor Hockenberry.
So when I read this, I hear, great, thank you for reading it, Audrey. Town of South Windsor, and in the last paragraph, it says, to do and perform all acts and things. So what does that mean?
You notice how I stumbled on that one when I was reading it.
Yeah, it's like, shouldn't that be a different word? What are things? I'm just asking because it just seems so elementary of a word that could mean many things.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Annually, we approve this resolution to give me the opportunity to apply for DEMIS 3 region grants and funding for emergency management purposes. The language is provided to us pretty verbatim, so yeah. is the approved and provided word, unfortunately. So,
Okay, thing one and thing two. There we go. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for that explanation, Mr. Maniscalco. Any other comments or questions? All right, if not, motion's been made and seconded. We'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. All right, thank you. Motion passes. Our next discussion item, item D, a report, Black Lives Matter Subcommittee. Counselor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, August 27th, not Monday, August 27th, Thursday, August 27th, we met, the Black Lives Subcommittee met with Councilors Manili, Snyder, myself, as well as some other guests invitees that we have included. We had a great discussion and a lot of input as to creating our statement of support. And since that meeting, Councilor Snyder and Manili have created a draft for us really to start off with and work on, and it's a great starting point. Myself and Councilor Leidecker are going to work on that this week to continue to develop that draft, and then, come back and have more discussion about that statement of support. And then at our next meeting, we'll go through it, with all the other invitees and people that have been involved with helping us really develop this idea. One of the things we would like to look at as far as our statement of support is bringing in a consult or facilitator to be able to help us to really develop this into something that is strong and meaningful to our community. So we're looking at doing that. One of our asks of the council tonight is to provide some funding for us to be able to do that with a facilitator, as well as some of the community events that we've been working on. Councilor Snyder had worked with Mary Etter and Sandy Westbrook at the library, and they've been working on some monthly or twice monthly community conversations. So as of next meeting, I look forward to hearing from them, when those will be. I also plan to have some more solid dates as far as events through a speaker, Dr. Joseph Cooper out of Boston, bringing him in, and as well as working with Youth and Family, as well as the Human Relations Commission. I've had some conversations with them about having joint community conversations that we can work together to develop for these conversations. And again, some of that does encompass some funding that we would like to ask council for to help us to really move those forward and make those meaningful. And through all of this, we really feel that the more that we can know and the more that we can understand, the better to help us to be able to really make this meaning and impactful. So our plan is to include some form of training, and we've had a few different groups that we've talked about. Sustainable Connecticut, Councilor Snyder had mentioned, which is a group that we could do some work through. I know Councilor Manili had spoken with an individual who had worked through the Connecticut State Department of Ed Resource Center, and they have done some training in the past. So we have some options that we're exploring. And our next meeting is on Monday, September 21st at 4:30. It will be right before our town council meeting, where we'll really try to solidify some of these community conversations. The other kind of conversation or discussion part of this that we wanted to bring to the council is that we don't want to see this subcommittee go away after we have met our obligations based on the resolution. So we've had some conversation about what to do to make this long lasting, to be something that will will last through our community and have an impact. So we have talked about creating a subcommittee under the Human Relations Commission as one option, as well as establishing an ordinance to create a commission that will deal with social and racial justice and some reform throughout, and with the support of the town council. So really trying to build something that's going to last and not go away after we have met our obligations with the resolution. So kind of looking for some guidance from the town council as far as that. We can't actually do anything with that until we have completed our obligations from the resolution, but we're looking to start that conversation so we can kind of get an idea of what direction to move in. And if Councilor Snyder or Manili or Lecter had anything else to add.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Evans. The other members of the subcommittee want to add? Councilor Manili?
Hi, thank you. I just had a quick question. Maybe it's for like Erica, like when Jan was like sitting down and like typing a mission, because we had gone like roundabout our meeting just weren't having like a lot of directions because we hadn't even gotten like a mission statement down or a point of reference. So we put something together and I now I think that you're going to change it and edit it and get it back to us. I don't understand. I thought I thought you kind of like gave that task to us. We did it, and now we're going to change it. I'm not really sure where that's going.
So my understanding and the way that I would like to work it is that it is a group effort and it is not solely one or two counselors' effort. I mean, of course, you would have input as to any changes or input that we provide. My edits are just as much a draft as your draft is. I think we all have to create something that is going to work for us as the subcommittee.
Right.
And
I agree. Right.
And I apologize, in my email, I did say with school and the end of summer, I did get a little behind on looking at that draft that you had created, but it's my goal for Karen, for Councilor Leidecker and I to really work on that this week, and have something to get back to both of you as far as, getting something out to the subcommittee for our next meeting.
Oh, I was just wondering, like, why it was just going to be like you two going to be editing like what Jan and I did. Like, why don't we all four of us like try and get together and hash it out? That's where I was going with that. I just
Correct me if I'm wrong, but would that be an illegal meeting?
There's only four of us. We can't meet and talk. There's not a majority of one way or the other. Maybe I'm looking for some direction on that. Or maybe like you and Jan talk and then me and Leidecker talk or something like that. Because it just seems like, we came up with something and now the other side's going to come up with or we're going to, I don't know what. And I just, I just confused on, where we're going with that.
I guess for me, I don't see it as your side, our side. I just see it as you two came up with a wonderful beginning, a wonderful draft. And I would like to have some input on that draft too, as I'm sure that Karen would as well.
Right. So like, why don't all four of us like meet and do it together? Oh, Jan has a question, but I just was like, well, it just seems like, okay, like, well, Jan and I put some together and now we're going to hear from like, you and Miss Leidecker. I'm like, wait, it just seems very separated as opposed to like maybe like you putting it like an input and saying to Jan and then Leidecker giving some input and put it to Jan. It almost seems like it's being divided, and that's what I'm questioning.
That is not my intent, but if you want to like look at it that way, I could also say that the Republican side, created this draft without input from the Democratic side, so that we would like some input too. But that's not where I'm coming from. That is not my intent. My intent is that all players are involved and have some say into what is going into this draft.
Right. It's not my intent either. No, I just want to make sure that like, it just
like
the way,
we're coming from the same place.
Right. It just seems like, like I that's why I was trying to say, why don't we all four get together, or why don't you, send your drafts to like Jan and then Leidecker sends her stuff to Jan and it goes from there, as opposed to the two of you collaborating, and then bring forth something else. That's
So
the way.
if someone would like to clarify for me about illegal meetings and numbers of people that can attend, then that is fine. My understanding.
Jan,
I'm gonna stop talking because Jan needs.
I'm trying to get to Counselor Snyder. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Counselor
that's okay.
Snyder.
I should have put my hand on because I didn't know if you saw me or not, Andy. Although I was like this. So an illegal meeting is when there's 5 people or more, which is a quorum. There's 4 of us. So it is not an illegal meeting if the 4 of us meet. And the reason why, and it was kind of surprising, Erica, for you to say, oh, the Republicans put that together without any Democrat input. But let me tell you, everything that I put in there was from lots and lots of copious notes that I took, Deb's minutes. And as a matter of fact, the beginning part of it is the part of the resolution that Andy that the mayor brought forth originally. So I think, we didn't put it together and do it so that to just do it and say we did it. We put it together as a starting point. All drafts are starting points. And we did work really hard on it. So ideally, I mean, I would love the opportunity to have the 4. I mean, we're the committee. I would love the opportunity to have the 4 of us sit and go through it with, pencils and pens and make changes and make sure we captured everything. But everything that's written in that we put in there was directly, if you go back and look in our minutes and look at my notes that I took, are things that we all talked about, regardless of what our parties were. So, we definitely this thing does not need to be political, and I don't want it to be political. But the thing is we didn't do it to send it to you and Karen to just change and correct what you want and send it back. We did it so that it would start the 4 of us talking together. I want to talk, even though it's not face to face, but it's Zoom to Zoom or WebEx to WebEx.
Zoom to Zoom. That's a new
I want to discuss that with the 4 of us together. I think, the longer we waited to get something in writing. Now, when you look at our 3 charges on the resolution, one is establish community conversation events and discuss social justice. And we've started that because you've talked to this person to bring them in to start talking, to do it, that gentleman from Boston. And we've met with the library people and they're putting together a 6. So they're doing all that over a long period of time. The second thing is to draft a statement of support. That's why we went ahead and just drafted something to start with. It's just something to start with. And the third thing is to promote and develop programs and initiatives to continue the effort, which is putting either an ordinance or a subcommittee under human relations so that it continually moves forward. We have some great representatives from the town. So we're close to completing this. The big nut to crack is making sure that statement of support represents the 4 of us for the council. So it's not an illegal meeting if there's 4 people. So I'm clarifying that, and the town manager is there, and so is the mayor, and they can clarify that as well. So it's not an illegal meeting if it's the 4 of us. But I look forward to working together and going through it all with everybody's comments together.
Me
so
too.
Kind of bounce things off each other.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Snyder. I'm going to give Counselor Leidecker a chance to add. Counselor Leidecker?
Thank you. I'm actually really kind of disappointed to hear Counselor Evans kind of being attacked right now. I don't think she ever once said that this was your draft and we were going to change it. I was not at the last meeting. I got what I thought was an excellent statement, and I had every intention of sitting and talking it over with everybody. I think what her intent was we are going to create our own notes on what you guys wrote and we bring it all together. So to all of a sudden hear it as we did this and now you guys are changing it, I didn't get that at all from the email. Again, I wasn't there at the last meeting. An emergency came up and I couldn't make it. So the email I got was, hey, this is a great start. I'm going to start writing my own notes because I assumed we were going to all sit down and talk about this at our next meeting with everybody. So to kind of hear some of the counselors saying now that Erica and I are going to be
No,
changing it to our way is a little,
no,
it's
then
a little
no.
surprising to me.
That's not what I
So
said.
just please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. So it's just kind of a little surprising to me to hear that. That's not how I interpreted the email at all when I got it. I honestly assumed that at our next meeting on the 21st, we were going to sit down and everybody was going to talk about it. I also too assumed that if the four of us did talk, I didn't realize there was a 5 to be an illegal meeting. I thought because the four of us are the committee members, that if the four of us met together as the only committee members, that was in fact an illegal meeting. And that if the four of us were exchanging emails, that also would be an illegal meeting because we're the only 4 members of this committee at this point in time. So maybe the clerk of the council can actually clarify that for me. Because I don't remember a 5. I just remember it being the majority of the committee itself meeting. Because I think there was something way back when with that before and after committee, and maybe 3 or 4 counselors allegedly met, and that was an issue. And so I'm just confused on that. So maybe the clerk of the council can clarify. But overall, I just assumed we were getting together on the 21st, and we were all hashing out what we were bringing to the table on the statement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Council Lidecker. I'm going to ask Mr. Maniscalco to weigh in on that interpretation of the 4 members.
Sorry, we were muted.
Oh.
So,
Go ahead.
I mean, your committee has a membership, and if you have more than the majority of that membership together, then that's a quorum. And so, half plus 1. So whatever the membership is, half plus 1 equals a quorum, in which case it's now a public meeting. So I think if you have less than that, if your whole group is less than that half, if whatever the group was that was getting together, if it was, 5 people total on the committee and only 2 people were getting together, they can get together without it being a public meeting. If it was 3 people, then it's now a public meeting and you guys have to go through all the processes and post it and broadcast it and everything else. I hope that helps some.
All right. Thank you. I think that clarifies it.
Deb, can you just explain that again for me, please?
So if you have 5 total people, correct?
We have let's use our example, Mike. We have 4 people on our committee.
Makes it hard. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I think if you have to play it on the safe side, to be very honest, to play it on the safe side, if you had 2 people to get together in a committee of 4, I would say it's a public meeting then. Because I think
I would check that.
It gets you in a gray area where you could potentially end up in front of, some other commission that's going to say, hey, and particularly, I mean, FOI, that's going to say you're violating the Open Meetings Act. It would have been easier if you had an odd number, but, if you have 2.
Wouldn't it be 3 as the tipping the scales to an illegal meeting, but not 2?
It could be, but, they're going to, with it being such a small number,
Yeah,
the commission could potentially question it. That's my fear.
right.
I wouldn't want you to go down that road of being stuck in that scenario.
Okay.
It stinks with it being such a small number and small group of people,
So basically, we can't continue to work on this further unless we have a public meeting to discuss it.
That's the interpretation I'm getting right from the town manager, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
excuse me.
Councilor
Yeah, I was
Del Mucci.
thinking the same thing, because if it's a committee of 4, that's your quorum. So I think with Councilor Lidecker's suggestion, it is doing it at the already scheduled September 21st meeting. All at once you don't even have to have guests at the next meeting. You can just, the 4 of you meet and hash it out.
That's all I was trying to ask. I was trying to work collaboratively. It just seemed like it was like it was like 2 and 2, and that's the whole purpose that we weren't trying to have. Okay, I wasn't trying to attack anybody. Okay.
That's not what you're saying, Lisa. That's not what you're saying at all.
What if you guys did it as a workshop?
Well,
Rather than a meeting, you post it as a workshop, it would get posted and you'd record it, you broadcast it, no different. But you'd have one item that was your topic of discussion. You could set it up as a workshop, maybe.
okay. Well, you're interpreting, and Ms. Evans, you're interpreting
Good.
my words, and I'm interpreting your words. It's just a little bit of miscommunication. Okay, nobody's attacking anybody. Okay, I was looking for clarification on Jan and I submitted something, and now you and Council Lidecker are going to going to submit something else and make edits. That's the way I read it. And that's why I was looking for clarification on that. Okay, if you misinterpret it, then you're misinterpreting what I'm trying to say then too. Maybe I need to come up with a better way of saying it. So yes.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Neely. Councilor Evans.
I would like to just make a point that I have tried to keep this group extremely unpolitical and keep the politics component out of it. And I feel tonight that it has been dragged into politics, and I feel like that is very unfair. I do also personally feel like this is trying to be twisted against me. So I'm not sure the best way. Oh yeah. So I'm not sure really the best way to move forward with this. I would take it at the suggestion of the town manager or the mayor, but I don't feel that the 4 of us can objectively make that decision without input from the council.
Well, let me suggest this. Could we do at 4:30, could we do a workshop with the 4 committee members, and then at 5:30 have the open meeting for the entire group? Because I know you have other guests now who've been invited to join.
Mr. Mayor, if I might,
Councilor Snyder?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, if it's going to be a televised meeting, the 4 of us would be together. To Karen's point, Councilor Lidecker's point is, we take the first hour, right? And we just hammer away, or even less if we need to, hammer away at that mission statement. And then we're able to give something to, a completed draft of all of our input directly to our guests or our other members that we brought on, and then talk about it then. And if we need to do another meeting right away, like maybe after 3 or 4 days, we can do that too. If our guests only need, or our other members only need maybe 3 or 4 days, then we could just do one the following week. You know what I mean? We don't have to put these things off for a long period of time, especially while we're trying to finish this this mission statement. And I'm actually, the only reason why we put this thing together was because we wanted to get something moving, and it's easier to move forward on something that you have a draft on. That's all it is. It's not, written in gold. It's not anything like that. It's just something to get together and move forward with. And I think this will help us, get that mission statement done. But, I had never imagined us meeting, the 4 of us, without it being on a televised meeting. So that's why I think it never occurred to me that we can't have 4 people at a meeting, because they're all televised. You know what I mean? They're all public meetings. Deb posts them and puts together an agenda. So we're meeting all those requirements. And believe me, nobody's attacking anybody. This wasn't a us and them. It was just threw it together and sent it in for everybody to take a look at. Karen, everybody is busy. Karen was away. Karen was busy. Erica's got kids going back to school. Manila's doing teaching. So it was just a way to help us start attacking some of these requirements in the resolution. And some of the ideas we have, whether an ordinance, and there's lots of other great things that we need to talk about to help keep this thing going. So believe me, if anybody interpreted it that way, it's too bad, because that's not how it was meant. We just, want to be sure the 4 of us work together, and let's take the first hour of the next meeting and do it. I mean, I don't think there should be any problem with doing that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Snyder. Councilor Hockenberry.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. Counselor Evans, did you already put the agenda out to the town clerk for that in particular meeting that's coming up?
No, nope, it has not been created.
Oh, because my suggestion would just be you would have to amend it or put a new, and it has to be done, I think, and you probably know, it just has to be done by a certain period of time before that meeting. And, you know, I hope all four of you can get together and help this, keep this moving along. I'm not going to talk about personalities or anything. I just want this, I think we want to get the Black Lives Matter subcommittee moving forward for our whole community. And thank you all for your hard work.
All right, thank you. Counselor Evans.
I mean, I guess everything's been said, but I just wanted to clarify that I never interpreted it or stated it as an us and them when I was explaining. My explanation was that Counselor Manili and Counselor Snyder created a wonderful first draft, and that myself and Counselor Lidecker were going to look at it. Never was that intended or meant to be interpreted as an us and a them. That was not my intention. As I've stated, I have intentionally not made this meeting and this subcommittee political. So for it to be stated that I turned it into an us versus them is completely incorrect. And I'm good with moving on at this point.
All right, thank you, Counselor Evans. Appreciate
Mr. Mayor?
all your work. Counselor Delnicki?
This is not actually a question for Counselor Evans. It's actually a question for Mr. Roberts in regards to the meetings being posted, the agendas, and the minutes. Someone called me today in regards to getting notification via email. And I went to this town's website and checked off which meetings I wanted to get information on. My question is, how soon would a person who signs up for email alerts for agendas and minutes, will they see it in their inbox? Will it be as soon as it's posted to the website?
Generally, the website is going to put out the notice as soon as it's posted. However, I don't know what email service you subscribe to, whether or not it gets marked as spam, where it ends up when it's delivered to you. So I can't speak to when a specific email recipient will receive the notification, but it will be sent as soon as the recording secretary posts the agenda and the minutes. It will go out. I just can't speak to when it's actually going to be received in their inbox.
Okay, that was just a question because, like I said, I signed up for one of them today just to see how it works because I've never signed up for it before. Because they get the town council agendas and minutes, and they asked about the Black Lives subcommittee, and I did find it on that list. They probably just didn't see it because they haven't been to the site in a while. But I just wanted to know how long it takes, and as long as it gets posted and it's through the email system after that. But thank you, appreciate it.
You're
All right,
welcome.
Thank you, Counselor Delnicki. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Any other comments, discussion? All right, we'll move on to the next item. Item E, Counselor Evans.
Thank you. Resolution approving a transfer of $1,000 from the contingency account to the Black Lives Matter subcommittee account. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves a transfer of $1,000 from the contingency account to the Black Lives Matter subcommittee account to cover costs associated with programs that the committee will be running.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussions about this agenda item? An allotment of $1,000. Counselor Hockenberry.
Will you need more than $1,000 or is this just a starter up?
This, I mean, this is our start. We have a few financial expenses involved. You know, I did not plan to spend more than $1,000, but my goal would be to try to stay within that budget. I think that's kind of what we felt.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Counselor Hockenberry. Counselor Delnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Evans, do we know exactly what the $1,000 is going to be used for? I mean, are you looking for like speakers or pamphlets, handouts, that type of thing?
So the three things that we've considered using it for at this point that we mentioned before too was training for the subcommittee and even possibly to carry through to the council. To possibly have a facilitator come in to help us work with our statement of support, and also any expenses related to our community conversation events.
All right, thank you. Counselor Lidecker.
Do we actually have, oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor, my apologies. Do we actually have a Black Lives Matter subcommittee account? And do we have to make that first, or is that within the discretion of the town manager to create it and then he'll fund it based if we vote on this resolution?
Based on how you vote on this resolution, we will make that account.
Okay, so the town council doesn't have to make a resolution creating the account first?
No, just your appropriation of the funds will do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Counselor Lidecker. Any other questions about this? All right, thanks. We'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, no? All right, motion carries. We will go on to item F. Counselor Lidecker, resolution.
Resolution setting a virtual public hearing to receive citizen input on the appropriation of $410,000 of LoCIP funds. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby sets Monday, September 21st, 2020 at 8 p.m. as the time to hold a virtual public hearing to receive citizen input on the appropriation of $410,000 of LoCIP funds to cover costs associated with the replacement of the South Windsor Town Hall elevator and construction of an ADA ramp.
Second. Can't hear you, Mayor.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions about this resolution?
Talk about it.
Counselor Snyder.
Yes, thank you. Mike, is this the total cost for the elevator or is it more than that?
No, I believe it's going to be more than that, to be very honest. So what happened is we had some funds appropriated to the elevator through capital. We went to go bid it out, and then we realized that if we were going to do work on the elevator, we would then be making the building not handicap accessible during the construction process, in which case we need to put in a ADA accessible ramp prior to, so that way we can maintain ADA accessibility to the building, which then drove the price up considerably. So
where are you going to put the ramp? In the front, by the front door?
yeah, and it's going to be a permanent ramp.
Yeah, you might as well, right?
Exactly. We're making this a permanent solution for the town hall. So.
Oh, that's good. And I just wanted to comment that there's been some discussion throughout town that, the town doesn't need to spend all that money on an elevator. But what I want to point out is that this elevator at Town Hall cannot even hold, yes, you could put your wheelchair in there. Maybe one person, probably two people, one wheelchair only. But the thing with it is that you can't get a gurney in there. You can't get an emergency a board. So God forbid if anybody in the building, whether it be somebody on the second floor, a resident who's going to the public to the building, public works, or the planning office, if anything happens, you can't bring anybody down. So yes, you could put, I just want to make it clear because there's a lot of misinformation out there, is this elevator is like this big and it needs to be made this big. So in order to do that, you have to claim some real estate in the other area, in the where the elevator is, and push a wall out and go and it's all brick, so it's a considerable amount of money. But I just think it's important that the public understand that you can't, emergency crews or first responders can't go up there more than one or two people at a time in an elevator. God forbid something happens, and they can't take anybody out. So that's why this has to be fixed. It's the size of it. If you have somebody who has a heart attack, or God forbid somebody breaks a leg or gets severely injured on any floor above the ground floor, okay, that's the main floor and the second floor, then they can't be taken out. So on a stretcher. So let's think about that too as well, because I think that's a really important point. And I think this elevator went in 1968, Mike, if my
Correct, yeah. And
okay, it's sad that I even remember that. But I mean, I don't remember. I wasn't here because I was young. But I remember as we were going through different ADA requirements through the buildings, through the Capital Project Committee over the past 15, 20 years, that was one that should have been replaced a while ago. And it wasn't. And we just really need to address it. And just for the public, LOCIP stands for Local Capital Improvement Projects, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that means money comes from the state into the various towns, because almost all towns get LOCIP funds, and that's for local capital improvements. This elevator change and fix, if you will remain in the town probably for another 45 years after us. So it's a permanent capital improvement. And I'm glad we're putting the ramp out front, because a lot of times people may be coming from the library or parking up top, and it's very difficult to go all the way around the back if you don't park there. You have to go down the grass, and it's dangerous. So I'm glad we're, really taking the extra step to make this a much more acceptable area for ADA. So this is a great thing that we've chose to use the money for, and I'm really happy that we're doing this. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add real quickly, I think
Yes.
also it's just important for everybody to note that the type of elevator that was put in the town hall has a motor on the bottom of it, and it basically pushes the elevator up rather than a motor on the top of it that would pull it up by a rope. The style of elevator that we have that was put in here, where it's being pushed up from below, is actually more expensive, which is also driving a very significant portion of that money. And the building structure would have to be changed if we wanted to go the other direction. So, there's a lot of things to take into account before people make decisions on the cost of what replacing an elevator might be. So.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Councillor Hockenberry.
Thank you, Mayor. Correct me, I maybe I didn't hear. Did Councilor Snyder just say it's going to be more than the $410,000?
Yes, we have an additional. We have an additional $150,000 appropriated in capital for doing this project.
Plus the 410 from LOCIP?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clarified.
All right, thank you. Councillor Delnicki.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, since you're putting the ramp in front, and if someone uses a wheelchair, are you going to do something with the front doors for handicap accessible with the push button? Do you have that upstairs already or no?
The push buttons? I can tell you if we have the push buttons or not. We have them.
So I know you have it downstairs in the lower entrance.
I don't know if they're upstairs. We'll have to look.
Because it'd be hard for a person in a wheelchair to
Correct.
pull the glass doors.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to look into that as well.
All right. Thank you.
Those new doors at the community center would be ideal for the town hall. Were they open as you approach?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments about this resolution? If not, we'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, no. All right, thank you. Motion carries. Item 8G, resolution. Councillor Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 8G, resolution approving a public message policy. Whereas on June 12, 2020, a message from a special interest group was painted on the driveway to Town Hall without the approval of the Town Council. No town funds were used to create this message, and there is no public message policy in effect. And whereas the town of South Windsor had no policy or procedure at the time associated with how requests for the use of town property to display public messages would be approved. And whereas there have been questions and concerns from South Windsor residents regarding the process and procedure utilized to allow this message to be displayed on town property. And whereas there were multiple resident communications disapproving of the town council allowing, I'm not reading it, the town council allowing any use of town property to display such a painting or any type of slogan or pictures expressing a public message. And whereas the June 12, 2020 painting was vandalized on August 12, 2020, causing the need for removal of the painting by the town at the cost of $658.75. Now therefore be it resolved, the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves a public message policy as presented in attached Exhibit A.
Second.
Counselor Manili seconded, right?
Well,
Okay.
Lisa and I kind of went together,
Oh,
but.
and Counselor Delnicki, all right. We'll start with comments. Counselor Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this policy is very short, it's very quick, it's very clear and concise. And I'm asking that on this policy that the town policy, the town council hereby declares that property owned or maintained by the town of South Windsor is not intended to serve as a forum for free expression. And the town council shall not consider, nor shall any member of the town council approve of any request for a public message to be displayed on town property, whether made by a member of the South Windsor Town Council or the public. So, this policy includes, let's see, the town council of South Windsor establishes the following policy regarding the use of public property to create or display public messages, images, or slogans such as paintings, signs, banners, and murals, which we're calling public message, at the town hall or any town-owned or town-maintained facilities. And also, it's important for me to point out that this policy shall not apply to or supersede the town's policy on this display of flags. So the flag policy is different, and that's put into place, and we have that to guide us. This is simply cut and dry, and it's simply, there was so much, honestly, and it doesn't matter what it was, because, and I've been saying this also, like if you painted a Mickey Mouse picture, like the Daffy Duck fans would be mad. So there's always something, unless you're speaking for all 25,900 or 26,000 people in the town, government should remain neutral on things like this. And back on July 20th, the minutes of our meeting on July 20th, our virtual meeting on July 20th, where the town attorney provided their input. It's the town attorney stated, I think it was Carrie Olson. Attorney Olson stated that she feels this is a slippery slope and feels it is something that requires significant consideration on the part of the council. But her advice to the council going forward would be the council should adopt a policy for this type of thing. Whether the policy says the town is not going to allow painting on any parking lot or driveways, or if a policy says that the town will only allow painting on town property through adoption of the council. Kind of what we did with the flags. So she had given it a lot of thought and, pointed out too, as well as if the town allows one group to write something, the town will have to allow another group to write something unless the town adopts it as government speech. So, we went through a lot of stuff with the flag policy, and while I wasn't on the side of allowing any other flags, I think the town came up with a very creative answer, which was to put up 3 flagpoles and to allow right in the center of a community area, people can put their flags up. As far as any public messages or murals or paintings, I tend to go on the more conservative approach, which is, let's not allow any of it. And then this past things that happened created a lot of work, additional work, and took a lot of time out of the mayor's time, councilors' time, the town staff's time, the town manager's time. And frankly, there's just a lot more important things that we should be working on. And the mayor and other councilors we have many other things to work on than putting out fires about things that somebody may or may not approve of. So by keeping it neutral, it just leaves the whole government area. We have the ability to fly a flag for different groups, and I like that we're doing that. I think that's fine. But I think as far as messages and public statements or public for special interest groups or anything like that should not be painted on any building or any signs or anything put up. And the other thing that I wanted to point out was while the town manager, and I do have that right here, the town manager on August 26th sent out, to the town council and to his staff, I believe, that due to numerous requests received through my office regarding painting slogans, murals, and other things on town driveways, facilities, and properties in an effort to ensure impartiality and neutrality, the town will deny all applications and requests for any of these acts. So the town manager, in essence, he said, I'm instituting this directive as it is currently needed, and we can no longer risk the potential of vandalism. I appreciate your support in implementation of this direction. So the town manager, while he did in fact send out an administrative, actually it's an administrative directive that he put out. If the town manager is gone tomorrow, hopefully not, but if the town manager is gone tomorrow, then things like this don't really hold any water. And as far as the town council goes, it's our responsibility, I believe, this counselor believes, that it's the town council's responsibility to set policy. And policy codifies things in writing and makes it official. So in order to make something like this official, so we don't have any more issues or any more problems or anything anymore about people agreeing or disagreeing, I just think the government needs to remain neutral. And it's not a secret because people who know me know that I've been saying that for a long time. And this policy codifies it in writing, puts it down, makes it an official policy for the town manager to carry out. So while I thank Mr. Maniscalco for putting out his directive, it took a lot of time out of his business as well. And if we put a policy in place, then we've done our job as town councilors and set up a policy and a procedure that it becomes codified and the town has it in writing. So with that, I'm hoping that this is something that we can move forward with by all counselors. I'm hoping I can get support. The fact that an administrative memorandum is out by the town manager is not a policy. So I'm looking to make this a policy. And I'm hoping that there's no problems or any issues with this. And I'm hoping that my fellow counselors kind of understand where I'm coming from and understand how it's important that the council does their job and actually does set policy. And I think this one was important enough to put into a policy. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor Snyder. Comments, discussion, questions on this resolution? Comments, questions? Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Neely.
Yeah, I just would like to support this resolution, only because, like was stated in the beginning of the meeting, if something were to happen and the town manager would no longer be our town manager, his directive would not have carry any weight because he can't make a rule for future town managers to uphold. So by putting this in writing and making a resolution, it becomes part of one of our policies, and it's his intentions all wrapped up in a short, concise resolution.
All right, thank you, Councilor Neely. Councilor Delnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Councilor Snyder for bringing bringing this forward. And everybody seemed to be happy with the town manager's directive stating about no paintings, no murals, no signs. keeping it all clean. So as stated, and I have to agree as well, if the town manager walks next week, the directive means nothing, and having a policy, if everyone agreed that the directive was very good, the resolution set forth here puts it in a policy, and it should be supported, and which I support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor Delnicki. Any other comments or questions? I guess I'm just a little confused in terms of the example, though, that you're using, and I want to ask for some clarification. By your example, even if this were passed, the next council with a makeup of different members would establish a different policy.
That is correct for every single thing that we do.
Okay,
So
so
whether it's this policy and many policies you've put into place, Mayor, Mr.
Right.
Mayor.
I'm not
Right,
questioning that.
anybody could come in the next council and change it. I'm just
not-
saying, this isn't, it's our job to set policy, and I just think we need to do it. So hopefully, you're right. I'm not saying that you're not.
I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying is the idea that because the town manager has issued this directive, well, what if he leaves? That could be changed. Well, the same is true for the council. That's all I'm saying. And it seems to me he's the CEO of this organization. If he sets a directive, he has in fact set the policy. So that's just my
Yeah,
input on
okay,
it.
well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I get it. It's
Thank
not the town manager's job to set policy, it's ours. So I thought it was important for us to give him clear direction directly from the governing body. But I absolutely understand what you're saying, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Snyder. Any other comments, questions, discussion? All right, if not, we'll go on to voting on the resolution. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Reed?
Counselor Lopez,
No.
Counselor Hockenberry,
No.
Counselor Snyder,
Yes.
Counselor Lidecker,
No.
Counselor Manali,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pendleton,
No.
Counselor Delnicki,
Yes.
Counselor Evans,
No.
Mayor Paterna.
No.
Failed.
All right, motion fails to pass. We'll go on to item H, our discussion of the flagpoles and financing of those flagpoles requested by Councilor Delnicki. Councilor Delnicki, before you begin the discussion, could I add one piece of information here? Because I want to make sure in terms of full disclosure, I received a call today from Billy Mitchell, and they also offered a donation towards the flagpole. Just want to put that in there since he wanted to offer that. Okay, Councilor Delnicki.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, the funding or the expense, I should say, for the electrical contractor and wiring, has that work been performed yet?
No, it has not been performed yet, although I'm not sure if it's been scheduled. It may be scheduled at this time.
All right, because I know the tree removal they were done. Is that the only work right now that was done, the tree removal?
The only work that's been done is the tree removal. We're waiting on the actual flagpoles to arrive. Associated with COVID, everything seems to be taking a little longer to get here. But once those flagpoles arrive, we were expecting them the end of last week. I haven't been told if they did arrive on Friday or not yet. So if they did arrive on Friday, I would expect that we would be starting work in the next couple weeks.
Okay, the base material, what's the base material? Is that the material that goes into the hole that the flagpoles will go into?
No, my understanding is the base material as well as the stone. So essentially what you do is you put stone down and you pack it, then you put a base material on top of that, and then you put the pavers on top of that.
Okay, yeah, the stone for the drainage.
Yes.
Okay, and the pavers, what are they for?
Well, you know, we have some concerns about maintenance around the base of the flagpoles as well as around the lights that need to be there. So we wanted to put pavers around it so that way it could be kept clean and orderly rather than putting something, putting something else there. So.
But $5,000? Okay, then what's the reason for the shrubs?
Well, it kind of is a front door to the community. We wanted to try to make it look nice.
Okay, so if you're trying to alleviate maintenance, you're gonna have shrubs for maintenance. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, $1,000 for shrubs, 5,000 for pavers, that's $6,000. I mean, is there any way we can get a breakdown of the what the electrical contractor is going to be doing for work so we can see what the $7,200 is going for?
Yeah,
I know at the last meeting, and it's understandable if you're going to be putting flagpoles in, there's going to be other expenses with that, but just $7,200 for electrical. I like to see what we're getting for $7,200.
Yeah, I could give you a general idea just right here because you have to cut essentially you have to cut the asphalt that's out there, and then you have to trench down to put the electrical lines in. I believe they have to be approximately 24 inches below the surface. Then they also have to cut the curb to get the electrical lines into the curb. There needs to be conduit put in there. There has to be some type of connection into the building power. I'm not sure where that main box is within the building, so whether it's in the corner there or not, I'm not positive. That could also be an addition to the cost. And then, then they have to string up the lights and stuff. So.
Did he, in the estimate, did he provide how much man hours it'll be?
I haven't seen the estimate myself personally, so I'd have to get you copies of it, but.
Okay, I'm just concerned with the added $6,000 paving and shrubs. Yeah, that's my concern when I saw the electrical contractor, and of course I'm not an electrician, so I don't know what goes into that, but pavers and shrubs, if you're trying to eliminate maintenance of the area, shrubs will be adding to it, and you got to mow it anyway because there is grass over there. So it's going to look like a little park, and I'm just wondering if a little bench is going to be requested.
Really?
Well, I mean, the goal of putting the pavers in was so that it wasn't mowed. That was the purpose of it. But I mean, we could do it however the council decides they would like to set it up. You know, the proposal here, I think, has the potential of looking nice and being a good front door to the community. So if it's the council's prerogative to go a different direction, we'll be happy to carry that out.
Well, yeah, because it is on the other side of the nice wall. It's there. I mean, pavers, I just think a nice lawn being mowed, just be, you don't have to worry about the heaving of the pavers during inclement weather with the ice, and that's just my only concern. Just $5,000 is a lot of money for pavers. That's my opinion. So, and we're allowed to have opinions, I believe, on the council.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
you.
Councilor. Thank you, Councilor Belnicki. Councilor Hockenberry.
I'm a little confused why we're going through a specific project line by line when isn't that the town manager's job? It just seems like, why are we going through each line item when we don't do that for every other project? Like, I'll just say the elevator that we just spoke about. It's just, we have to allow our town manager to do his job. And I think we voted already to have him do this project. And I don't know, I just think it's,
May I answer that, Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Hockenberry, are you finished?
It sounded like a question, so that's why I,
Yeah, I'm coming back to you. Yes, I'm coming
Yep.
back to you.
I understand that as counselors that we should be looking at money, but out of a budget of how much we have, and we're talking about $6,000 for something that we all agreed on, it just confuses me why we're even talking about it. And Audrey, if you'd like to answer that,
All
would be
right.
great. Thank you.
Counselor. Thank you, Counselor Hockenberry. Counselor Delnicki, I'll go back to you. Yes.
yep, because we are the stewards of the people's money. And a lot of people were not happy with that we were doing 3 flagpoles. And I think this is a bigger project than they were actually expecting, because I've had calls in the past regarding this. And when I saw the big cost of it, I thought I would ask the questions on behalf of the constituents. And we is 26,000 people. It's not we, as I have a little mouse in my pocket looking for money. And we should be looking out. It may be a little bit of money out of millions of dollars of budget, but people at home look at every single dollar of their budget. And, you know, if you're only worried about 6,000, that's on you, but I'm concerned about the $6,000.
All right. Thank you, Counselor Delnicki. Any other comments or questions? Before I go back to you, Counselor Hockenberry, I just want to make sure there's no one else who wants to speak. All right. Counselor Snyder.
Thank you. I'll be quick. So I wasn't expecting the cost to be as much as it is. I know there's an extensive amount of money needed for electrical. I am familiar, I'm not an electrician, but I am familiar about how you have to run the wires. And I did talk to the town manager about it as well. We can't just put solar lights on the top of these. These are big community flagpoles, so they have to really be properly lit. And so I get that. And I also get, you know, there's money. Andy, who was the other person that's company that said they would donate to the flagpoles?
Today I received a call from Billy Mitchell.
Okay, because yeah, I didn't hear that. It kind of was buffering a little.
Yes.
Yep. So, you know, I was thinking that most of this project would be paid for through donations, and I think it's a great thing for the community to come together and do. I just personally, I just don't think it needs to be a park. I don't think it needs to be as you know, ornate. And I know the town manager had the project, and he's thinking about the best way it looks and the best way it'll be, especially coming through the town. And I get all that, and I appreciate his work on this. I just think it doesn't need to be that much. I think we need to cut back a little bit on it. And if I guess my question would be to Mike, you provided this to us. Councilor Hockenberry said, you know, we don't go through all the items on the project. Why did you provide this for us? I guess I just want to know.
Well, I thought you guys were having a discussion on the way you were going to fund it, and I thought you would want to know. You know, I know we had conversations about the cost of the poles, and I had given you kind of an idea of what the wiring was going to cost. And now that we had the whole project fleshed out, I wanted to try to give you information about it out of an abundance of transparency. So.
Okay, so you felt it was necessary to bring this back to us because we still were discussing it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was just wondering, because, you know, if you don't put line items on every project you give us, and you did on this one, but I do appreciate the time and effort you put into this to provide it to us. I just think it's a little too much. I don't have a problem with the poles, especially when we get money donated, and I don't have a problem if the town pays for the electrical connection, because I know the wiring is going to be a lot. And the lights we'd have to pay for. So I think I would just like to see it be more of a cost-effective type of project as opposed to spending that much money, unless we get $17,165 worth of donations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Snyder. Councilor Hockenberry.
I agree. I agree with you, Janice. And I agree with you, Audrey, about people asking about the cost and why is it so much and so on and so forth. I remember reading a comment that there was a certain person that said, we all think landscaping shouldn't be as expensive as it is. Mowing the lawn should cost $20. Well, it's a lot more than that because you have to maintain with chemicals, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, thank you, Mr. Maniscalco, for bringing this up. I know we've had people who have said that they wanted to donate. And I also, at the beginning of this meeting, had stated, why don't we have the pavers, put them in now, but have them being that money, if there are residents in town who want to buy a paver and put, you know, I would put Arthur Hockenberry for my dog wants to be a part of this little flag thing. So I'm just saying that it just seems that this amount of money is 62 cents a resident. If we have all of our residents come in and give 62 cents in a jar on the town hall, that might be a cool idea, because then it would be a community project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Any other discussion? Questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Deputy Mayor Pendleton, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr.
Okay.
Maniscalco, do you have any type of a rendering of what this would look like?
We just have a little map that from above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the map that you're referring to that we saw before?
I think you may have seen it. Yes.
Okay. I understand what the pavers are for is to protect the flagpoles against lawn mowers or weed whackers, and having the pavers around them so they don't get dinged up or banged up by any of that. I understand that. Very
Correct.
similar to what's down at Veterans Memorial Park, or around any of our flagpoles that in town. We don't have grass for the purposes of protecting them. I understand that. And yes, it would be probably a lot easier for our parks department to be able to maintain. And I deviated a little bit, but this discussion item is supposed to be financing of flagpoles, not digesting each of these items, but financing of flagpoles. And I guess my question is, Mr. Maniscalco, the $17,000 is already in our budget, correct?
Well, I mean, do we have the money somewhere in the budget to pay for it? We certainly could take it out of contingency. We probably could find other places to scrape it together from, or other things to not do to be able to do this, or find other savings to be able to pay for it.
Okay.
It's not something that we budgeted for this year. No.
Okay. So we're not going out and taxing or raising taxes to get this accomplished, correct?
No.
Okay. So it could be in contingency. What do we have in contingency right now? Do you know?
I think after the $1,000 earlier tonight, you have $49,000, I believe.
49,000, and this would be 17,000 minus that, or 49 minus the 17, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So financing of the flagpoles is what we're supposed to be talking about. So 49,000, I think that's where my concern is the financing of this. And I know that I had requested a fence to be put around the boundless playground. And I know that that was going to be like a $30,000 project. I guess I'm going to be asking for that in the next year's budget because we don't have the money in this year's budget to do it. So, and I know that has nothing to do with flagpoles, forgive me. So I guess with the financing, I wanted to get a clear-cut picture of where this $17,000 was coming from. I appreciate your answers, Mr. Maniscalco, and I would love to see any type of a rendering, that even if it's a hand-drawn rendering of what it may look like prior to going forward with this, I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pendleton. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All right, we'll move on to the next item then. Thank you. Next item, item I, discussion of in-person town council meetings. Councilor Del Nicky.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I was looking ahead on,
Oh, all right.
so I was just sitting. I'm looking optimistic. I'm not saying, we had this discussion at the end of July, I believe, one of the meetings in July, about going back to in-person meetings. We got our nice little fancy face masks, courtesy of Mr. Maniscalco, sending them out. Thinking that we can do in-person, try to do in-person council meetings, try to get to some kind of normal, and space out the council dais. And I'm not sure if plexiglass will work, but space out where, and then the mayor, the deputy mayor, and the clerk of the council can sit in the front. That way we're spaced out at the dais. And try and maybe public participation live. So we can probably stick to a better public participation instead of listening to reading emails all night. But I'm just trying to be optimistic that if nothing happens where numbers don't change, they don't increase, just like with schools, they're trying to slowly get back to in-class lessons. And I was just trying to see what thoughts were on trying to go back. I mean, we have gone to stores, we've gone to media events. So just thoughts on trying to get back to a regular council meeting. And I was looking at October, maybe the first meeting in October, but that's just contingent on how numbers look.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Delnicky. Councilor Lydecker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am, even in October, not ready to go back to in-person meetings. My children just went back to school yesterday. It is extremely important for our children in town to be in school, and I just can't risk bringing in any additional exposures into my home that could then affect my children in school and could theoretically affect 150 other kids, because then they shut down my child's cohort for 2 weeks because my children test positive. I rarely go into stores. I can't tell you how much I miss window shopping at Target and BJ's. It physically hurts that I can't window shop. My husband's not going into stores. We are still very, very sheltered in our lifestyle right now. And my focus is my children. I think we have not stopped public participation. People still can communicate with us. My understanding is even if we did go back in person, only about 12 people would be able to come into the council chambers. So I think we can still get significantly more public comment and feedback. But right now, for me personally, my children are first and foremost, as are the children in this town, and I just can't risk the exposure of being in a room at this point in time. I haven't even gone into my parents' house since March. So I'm not personally ready to be in person. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Lydecker. Councilor Maneely, I thought I saw your hand.
The mute button is in a different spot than it
Okay,
usually
okay.
is. I'm on the computer, I'm sorry. I can feel that, Councilor Delnicky, I know she's passionate about getting back to business and making sure that, we're using our chamber and stuff like that. But, I've spent the last 3 weeks in school, and we've been exposed to like a bunch of kids, and I'm now working on making sure that I'm not going to go back to school. I'm going to be teaching my cohort group of students from my house, because it's just, there are just outbreaks everywhere. Summers had an outbreak with two teachers. Glastonbury's already had an outbreak. The more people you expose yourself, I understand Councilor Delnicky's and her desire to be back in the town, in the chamber, but me personally, after being in school for 3 weeks, I'm really seriously considering, not being in favor of going back into the chamber, as lovely as it would be, even if you can socially distance. I too have not gone to stores or anything like that. That's not that I went to stores beforehand, but I certainly am not going to them now. So I'm hesitant, and I think October is a little bit too soon. I'd like to let's see let play out a little bit more, because as it is in school, we're committing to remote teaching for till January. So maybe in January, I would reconsider it, but I think October is a little bit too soon. I'm sorry to say.
All right, thank you, Councilman Neely. Councilor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And because you called on Councilor Lydecker before me, she has basically said everything that I was going to say. She and I are pretty much in exactly the same place. You know, I truly go to stores only as an absolute necessity. I have not been in a grocery store since March 16th, which was right before our last in-person council meeting. I really feel strongly that anything we can do as leaders in our community to mitigate any spread is to the benefit of our schools. To having our kids be able to go back and be in school in person, even in this hybrid state, is so important. And the more that we can do to make sure to mitigate that, the more important that is. Which also carries over to our town offices with us going into the town building and, you know, the exposure on both sides. So I personally would not be in favor of having in-person council meetings going forward at this time.
Councilor Hockenberry.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. This counselor has to go to the hospital every 3 days. I have to be tested for COVID because I'm taking care of my brother. So even me being there, I'm at risk, even though I do get a test. And I will not be able to go to the chambers because I would not want to risk anybody else. So I know that we still have numbers coming in from the state. They've been, you know, you get the report from the governor and you know, the outbreaks that even at the colleges have come out, and you just don't know where anybody else has been that you're around. And it's kind of a risk I feel at this time. You know, hopefully we can bring up this subject again and there will be no worry about it, but not at this time, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be having surgery at the end of September, and I have a 8 to 10 week recovery period. And I would choose not to expose myself to anything that's absolutely unnecessary. I do not go to grocery stores. I do not go to media events. I stay in my 4 gardens in my backyard. So I do not expose myself to anything that's unnecessary. So I am not looking forward to coming back in October. And even November or December, if the flu season, depending on the flu season and how that works out, and also the numbers from school being back in. So at this point in time, I'm not interested in doing contact in person. And Mr. Maniscalco, is the town hall open to the public?
We're open for services to the public, and the public can come to the vestibule, but they cannot walk around the building.
Okay. All right. And that's going to change when, do you think? Is that an executive order?
That's not an executive order. I don't see that changing anytime in the near future.
Okay.
We're kind of holding back and waiting to see what happens with school now that school's in.
Great. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor Pendleton. Councilor Delnicki.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, that's why I brought it up, because I just wanted to hear what everybody was thinking, because I've heard people saying, why aren't you folks back in the chambers? We have school starting, and if school can go in, why can't the town council meet? So that's the only reason why I was bringing it up, and I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on, and because I have seen, I mean, there are folks here who have gone to hairdressers, but and who have gone to media events at the EOC. But like I said, I only brought it up because people are saying we're going back to school, we're sending the kids back to school, and I understand Councilor Lydecker as well. But I just, like I said, I just wanted to get it out there. Everybody's, that way their thoughts can be known on why we're not going back into chambers. If the school can be in, why can't we? So that's the reason why I brought it up.
All right, thank you, Counselor Delnicki.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, we will keep that on the back burner for now then. Our next discussion item is a sister city relationship with Quito, Ecuador. And I'm going to ask Councilor Lopez to say a few words on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I would like to start a discussion regarding establishing a sister city relationship with the city of Quito in Ecuador. So I would like to first talk a little bit about what is a sister city program and then also why Quito, Ecuador. So the sister city program was started by President Eisenhower after World War II to understand other countries as a way to prevent another worldwide war. Nowadays, these relationships have been a way to learn about other cultures, to further advance cultural integration, and in some very successful relations, to advance economic development. So today in the United States, 522 cities have a total of 2,012 partnerships with sister cities in 143 countries. In the state of Connecticut, there are 11 towns with sister city connections, such as Newington and Talca in Chile, or Woodbridge with Longueur in Senegal, among others. The benefit can range from improving human connections, such as an electronic PAL or e-PAL program between high school students, where they can learn about each other cultures. Also formal or informal exchange of students and business leaders. Other benefits can be business relationships. And there is one particular case that happened in Lakeland, Florida, and its sister city in Chongming in China, where a small civil engineer company from Lakeland got a contract to design a park and housing development for the city of Chongming, a project that turned out to be a $1 billion venture. Now, why Quito, Ecuador? Quito is the capital city of Ecuador, and in 1978, the whole city was declared the first World Heritage Site for by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. When it comes to the arts, for example, Quito brings together the indigenous and European artistic traditions. Quito is renowned for providing the greatest contribution of Spanish America to universal art. From an architectural perspective, the city of Quito itself is the cradle of pre-Columbian culture, and it has maintained the same colonial structure despite centuries of urban development. From a business perspective, the United States Embassy in Quito stands ready to assist U.S. companies in developing successful commercial relationships with Ecuadorian partners. The economy of Quito is based on textiles, metals, and agriculture. And then there is its people, notoriously known for being polite, dependable, and artistic. Quito is already a sister city for Concord in Massachusetts and Coral Gables in Florida. There is no cost or expense to having a sister city relationship, as all the programs are coordinated by nonprofit organizations. So any questions?
All right. Thank you, Councilor Lopez. Any questions? Councilor Hockenberry.
So, Councilor Lopez, has South Windsor done anything with Quito already?
Recently, during the peak of the pandemic in the city of Guayaquil and Quito, in Ecuador, there have been some interchanges of knowledge about ways to handle some of the lack of machinery or lack of processes in those countries. So people from South Windsor and people from Quito got together to troubleshoot and try to come up with ways to minimize the problems that were happening in Quito during the peak of the pandemic over there.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hockenberry. Councilor Neely.
Yes, good one. I was just wondering, what would be the benefit for South Windsor to become a sister city with Quito? And in return, what would Quito have to offer South Windsor, and what would South Windsor have to offer Quito?
The number one benefit will be cultural integration. It's a way for understanding the culture of people from Quito, which in a way it's also representing the people of Ecuador, and also vice versa, the people the people of Quito, understanding our culture here in the United States, and specifically our town of South Windsor. Many of these relationships, the main benefit has been mainly cultural integration, learning about the culture and understanding the way they think and the way they're doing things. Now, other benefits we have been very successful in certain relationships have been economic development, where leaders from one city go to meet with the leaders of the other city and talk about things that they can trade. It can be like I said before, a trading of ideas, as it has recently happened between Quito and South Windsor, and in some cases it can be a business venture.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Lopez. Thank you, Councilor Manili. Councilor Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Lopez, do we, or actually the town manager, do we have a large Ecuadorian population here in South Windsor? Does anybody know that?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, just wondering. I thought maybe Councilor Lopez may know. So there's like 26,000 people in South Windsor. If you had to have a guess, what would those be?
Yeah, no, there's not that many people from Ecuador, but like I said before, it's not really how many people are there. It's really we represent a pre-Columbian history that can be a representation of the entire South America. I mean, we were all one country at one point: Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela. So understanding us is understanding South America.
And another question, Mr. Mayor. So what does the system, I mean, you can do all, I think it's buffering. Okay, you can do all those things right now. You don't need to have a sister city agreement. What does the sister city agreement give you that you don't have now?
Maybe more coordinated programs through, more coordinated programs through sister city organizations where they have already developed relationships among different cities, and they can bring others, they can find ways to bring people together.
Okay, thank you.
To give you an example, from a cultural perspective, we were looking for something like that within the city, within the town, but for my daughter, but it wasn't there. She had to join an organization called the Experiment in International Living. So pretty much, sister city program is pretty much having those kind of tools and programs that are already proven that we can leverage directly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Lopez. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
While I was listening, I just looked up Quito, and Quito has a mayor form of government also. However, they have a 15-member city council. Can you imagine? No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, that's all.
Okay.
I'm just like, what?
All right.
Yeah. So I was just looking at their form of government, and it's very interesting. In the economy, and many museums, and many culture, and the pre-Columbian period, and history is like, I love history. So it's very interesting, and I think it would be very interesting for them. Quito is much larger than us, correct, Cesar?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking 2 million people compared to 26,000. So if anyone could benefit from this, I think South Windsor could benefit from this. And I think this would be a very interesting thing to do. Thank you.
One thing that I can do is I can contact the municipality in Concord, Massachusetts, and see what have been the benefits for them with their sister program with Quito, which they have already.
Oh, they did. So they're a sister city of Quito in Concord.
Yeah,
Concord, Mass or Concord, Maine?
Concord, Mass. And Coral Gables, Florida.
Oh, that would be great if you can gather us some information. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you. I think one of the big advantages is that getting high school students involved, that those EPAL programs through cultural exchanges, I think that's been something that other cities have done that really benefited their high school students. Okay, any other questions? Thank you. I think we'll ask Councilor Lopez to bring back more information before we come up with a resolution for this topic. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item K, discussion of our 175th anniversary committee. Councilor Snyder and I have been working with that group, so I'll ask Councilor Snyder if she wants to start with an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've had some, I think the biggest thing is we've had two, I think, maybe three members drop out because they had other things going on. And so we're looking to get a couple to bring more people on to the committee. The committee has a lot of different things planned for 2021 when we're all in a better place. So we're just going to erase this year of 2020 and go next year. So I guess, Mr. Mayor, we need to see about putting on a couple more people, and we did discuss some. So maybe you want to speak to them?
Yeah, I think if you remember the original resolution, it was Councilor Snyder and I who got together and brought forth names for the committee. And so we're going to do the same with the two vacancies that we have, and we'll bring names to you at the next meeting on the 21st to be approved. I would just want to add that that committee's been, even though 2020 has been a disaster for their projects, the ideas that they had, the programs that they were planning, parades and festivals, they were really so creative. So I'm looking forward to 2021 because I think there'll be some exciting things happening. All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Snyder. We'll go on to item 9.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Could I just comment on the 175th?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. I just want to reflect back to what Wood Library had to say, the 175th anniversary of South Windsor exhibit. Evolution of Agriculture is up on the website, and they're working on their final anniversary exhibit, From the Podunk Path into Space. The exhibit will explore different modes of transportation, their history, and the impact on the development of South Windsor area. So Wood Library has still been involved in the 175th, doing some of their own things, and it's on their website.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pendleton. We'll move on to the next item. And Mr. Roberts or Mr. Maniscalco, public comment, any other?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do have 6 new emails that came through. I am going to read them. That said, I am perfectly fine if any of you want to jump in and stop me in the middle of reading them, because I do have a feeling some things may be offensive to some of you. So I will just preface it with that. The first one came in tonight at 8:39. Heard my name was mentioned tonight. Any discussion of the mayor not reporting a felony when BLM threatened the town with a traffic stoppage? Christopher J. Bernard. The next one came in on September 9th at 8:47. I don't think the taxpayers of South Windsor should spend a dime on an organization that supports burning, looting, defacing, and killing of innocent people, women, children, babies, and police officers. Christopher J. Bernard. September 9th at 8:47. Why are we asking for funding to hire a consultant to help us support Black Lives Matter? Christopher J. Bernard. September 9th at 8:50. Your meeting is, I'm not going to use that word. You need to look into what happens when you bus in kids from Hartford, and what's happening at South Windsor High School. You're asking for funding for an organization that goes around killing people. What about poor people? What about Asians? Why is everything?
Mr. Maniscalco, hold on a minute. Deputy Mayor Pendleton.
Point of order, especially with the way our transportation system is with the school system. I take offense to that.
Okay.
There is schools.
September 9th, 2020, 8:51. If you think you're being so equality why are there no blacks on the town council? Christopher J. Bernard. September 9th, 8:52. Hey, Mr. Mayor, I'm watching you tonight. Why don't you tell everybody why are you let someone commit a felony in your own town and why you let yourself get bullied? Christopher J. Bernard. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Appreciate that. Thank you for your input from residents of the town of South Windsor. We'll go on to item 10, communications from the council. Anyone have anything they want to share? All right, if not, we'll go on to executive session, and we have none. So our last item on the agenda is adjournment, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilman Neal.
So moved.
Second.
So moved. Is there a second? Deputy Mayor
Second.
Pendleton. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Thank you. We stand adjourned.
Good night, all.
Thank you very
Good night,
much. Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.